Jiang Fan stands before the ancient silver apricot tree. Its golden leaves a sanctuary in the forbidden land. But venerable Jing's demand for its merit threatens to shatter this peace. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this path. Fan followed her gaze and felt a moment of trance. In the depths of the pitch-black forbidden land stood a 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree. The ancient giant tree, large enough for 10 people to embrace, stood upright, its ginkgo leaves like golden scales draping down like an umbrella. The wind blew. The leaves rustled and fell, resembling a swarm of golden butterflies dancing or meteors withering in the night sky. Everyone was stunned. In the deepest part of the terrifying great wilderness forbidden land lay an artistic, picturesque human world of beauty. There is someone there. The red dust venerable with sharp eyes was the first to notice a young girl in a light yellow dress sitting cross-legged beneath the tree. Her long black hair was braided into twin braids, and her round, adorable face was set with beautiful features. A lively and radiant little girl. At this moment her eyes were slightly closed. She allowed the breeze to blow through her dress. The yellow divine ring on the back of her head emitted a soft and holy light in the wind. On the divine ring, 5 flame marks stood out prominently. Her identity was self-evident. Venerate Wudong, 1,000 years have passed, yet she remains a bright girl. As if time cherished her, reluctant to leave a trace of gray in her hair or a wrinkle on her face. A sea becomes a mulberry field becomes a sea. While time ages, she remains as she was. Gulp, someone swallowed deeply. The legendary heavenly human 5 decays venerable, the human supreme sat right before them. It was difficult for anyone to remain calm. Jiang Fan was also awestruck, whispering softly, "She truly is a woman blessed by the heavens." He had seen eternal youth before. The 2 demon emperors, Yizhu and Old Dream, had the ageless appearance untainted by time. But they could not withstand 1,000 years and would eventually fade into a trace of red clay. Venerate Wudong, however, remained unchanged through 1,000 years. His whispers rippled through time and space. Venerate Wudong's eyelashes trembled as she slowly opened her eyes, large and round, black and white distinct. Her eyes seemed dull. It was as if she had been sleeping for a long time and only just woke up. As her vision gradually focused, seeing the crowd, she gently scanned them. When she saw Jiang Fan, her eyes sparkled with a radiant gleam. She hurriedly got up, a healing smile rising at the corners of her lips, forming 2 shallow dimples on her cheeks as she joyfully exclaimed, "You are here!" She lifted her skirt, happily running toward Jiang Fan. As she was about to get close, she slowly stopped, maintaining a distance, shyly lowering her head. Adorable and bashful. Jiang Fan was slightly taken aback. Was Venerate Wudong speaking to him? Why the shyness? Wu Yu Venerable swallowed hard, feeling a suffocating pressure at close range. His heavenly human second decline realm was like a small boat facing a stormy sea before Venerate Wudong. It could capsize at any moment. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Venerate Wudong." The other 5 demon venerables also respectfully paid their respects. Venerable Jing cast a wary gaze at Venerate Wudong, clearly feeling the immense pressure. Venerate Wudong regarded them as if they were air. Still bashfully facing Jiang Fan, "I've been waiting for you for so long, come quickly." She reached out, shyly tugging at the hem of Jiang Fan's garment, heading towards the ginkgo tree. Jiang Fan was puzzled by her meaning. He quietly followed her to the ginkgo tree. As they got closer, Jiang Fan noticed the trunk was filled with carvings of 2 names. One was Wudong, and the other was Lu Jiolin. The number reached hundreds. Most of the handwriting had become blurred, with no way to trace the era they were carved in. "Senior brother Lu, do you remember our promise?" "Wait." Jiang Fan suddenly looked towards Venerate Wudong. She mistook him for Lu Jiolin. "I am not." Jiang Fan wanted to correct her, but Venerate Wudong shyly held Jiang Fan's hand. A chill without warmth invaded him. Her shy voice, accompanied by the fluttering ginkgo leaves, gently floated into his ears. "Senior brother Lu, Wudong has waited for you for 500 years." Jiang Fan felt his heart tremble slightly. Venerate Wudong hadn't stepped out of the forbidden land, waiting for Lu Jiolin, waiting for the unfulfilled promise between them, waiting for 500 years. The explanation he had on the tip of his tongue could no longer be uttered. Lu Jiolin had long perished in the desolate snowfield 1,000 years ago. Standing in front of her was merely a stranger delivering regrets. Her senior brother Lu would never come again. Perhaps due to cultivating the Brahma Saint True Spirit technique, Venerate Wudong mistook Jiang Fan for Lu Jiolin. expressing her 500 years of longing to him. How could Jiang Fan bear to break her 500-year-long dream? With tenderness in his eyes, he cupped Venerate Wudong's face gently in place of Lu Jiolin and softly said, "I have come to fulfill our promise." Wudong. Tears quickly formed in Venerate Wudong's misty eyes, falling as she sobbed. "I was afraid I would fall asleep forever, never to see you again." She threw herself into Jiang Fan's embrace, her tears quickly soaking his clothes. Her delicate body trembled slightly. "I've been cursed by the giant emperor, only able to wake for a day each time and then fall into a long slumber. I feared forgetting you, so each time I awoke, I carved your name and mine. To remind the next time I wake, not to forget our promise. Thankfully, the heavens blessed me and senior brother Lu finally came. I no longer have to worry." Jiang Fan looked at the dense carvings, his heart deeply moved. These were not just names. They were Venerate Wudong's longing across 500 years of time. Each stroke was filled with emotion. His throat felt choked, unable to speak. Venerate Wudong looked up, wiping away her tears, her eyes full of expectation for the future. "Senior brother Lu, since you're here, let's leave Central Earth together. Find a paradise planting 2 rows of your favorite ginkgo trees. Build a beautiful house. With just the sky and earth, you and me, no more obstructions, no more disturbances, no more partings by death." "Okay." It turned out their promise was to leave the Central Earth realm together, to seek a paradise and be bound to each other. How similar this was to Ling Shu's wish. Facing Venerate Wudong's fervent gaze, Jiang Fan could not bring himself to tell her the truth. "Senior brother Lu, what's wrong?" Venerate Wudong asked fearfully. Jiang Fan felt his heart pricked as if by needles, gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, we will leave Central Earth." With such eyes, such desires, how could he bear to refuse her to her face? He could only agree now and explain slowly later. But to Jiang Fan's surprise, Venerate Wudong was filled with excitement, tears falling again. She nodded repeatedly, saying, "Great, let's go to paradise then. But senior brother Lu, wait a bit. I need to awaken all the flames in the divine ring to break through the barrier of the world." She pointed a finger at the divine ring behind her. The 5 flame marks merged into one, condensing into a gray flame above her head. It had no warmth, no color, like a flame painted on with a brush, only missing the finishing touch. Requiescence Wuyu Venerable's soul was stirred, and he wanted to rush forward to stop her, but he was intimidated by Venerate Wudong's power. He could only plead, "Please, senior, spare us. The catastrophe of Great Wilderness State is imminent. How can it withstand such a drastic decline in fortune?" Red Dust Venerable was also frightened by Venerate Wudong's act of absorbing the state's fortune. At this moment, taking the fortune from Great Wilderness State. Isn't this trapping Great Wilderness State in hell? With the assistance of mysterious ancient sky pits, the ancient giants make the Great Wilderness State face a perilous fate. The only way for survival is preserving the fortune of Great Wilderness State. Thus, spiritual energy is abundant. Heaven and earth spiritual objects thrive. Resources for alchemy, artifact refining, talisman crafting, and array setting are plentiful. With this, they could have a chance to contend with the ancient giants. But if Venerate Wudong takes away the fortune of Great Wilderness State, what would be the consequences? Taikang State has already demonstrated to the world. Spiritual energy depletion, resource scarcity, difficult breakthroughs. The sole path for survival in Great Wilderness State would be obliterated. She pleaded, "Senior, please leave us a way out." The other 4 venerables' faces also changed drastically, and they all spoke out to stop her. Venerate Wudong turned a deaf ear. Completely ignoring their pleas, she lifted her small hand and fiercely grasped towards the sky. Suddenly, an invisible force was drawn from everyone's body present. It's hard to say what it exactly was, but all 6 venerables felt subtle changes in their bodies. Red Dust Venerable suddenly touched the corner of her eye, and a faint crow's foot appeared on her well-maintained face. Wuyu Venerable took out a mirror, looking at the divine ring on the back of his head, and 2 flame seals had somewhat dispersed. Signs appeared more or less on the bodies of the other 4 venerables. Ominous signs. These were the consequences of losing fortune from their bodies. The fortune Venerate Wudong extracted was not merely the unowned fortune of Great Wilderness State. The fortune from every living being would be partially taken by her. Wuyu Venerable's gaze flashed with horror. He said in a deep voice, "Senior, why do you plunge us into dire straits for your own selfish reasons?" Red Dust Venerable also resented. "You flee to an Arcadia paradise for refuge, unwilling to help fight the ancient giants. I won't stop you. But why must you harm us?" The four venerables were also infuriated by Venerate Wudong's stubborn actions. Yet Venerate Wudong continued to treat them as if they were air, kept extracting more distant fortune. Seeing this, Wuyu Venerable gritted his teeth slightly, his eyes shot out a fierce look and said, "5 fellow Taoists, proceed with the planned action." These 6 venerables had secretly communicated on the way here. This time meeting Venerate Wudong, they prepared for both outcomes. If Jiang Fan's plea works, letting them leave the forbidden land, that would be best. If not, they must find a way to seek hope themselves. And the method, there is only one, which is a joint strike by all 6. 2 in heavenly human second declines, 4 in heavenly person decline. The power of the joint strike may not be as strong as Venerate Wudong's and could hardly cause harm to her. But at this critical moment of her entering sagehood, their joint strike would be sufficient to scatter fortune, perhaps even harm Venerate Wudong, preventing her from entering sagehood. Red Dust Venerable bit her silver teeth and shouted, "Act now!" The consequence of the action could very likely be death. Not acting, leaving Venerate Wudong unchecked, would also lead to death. It was better to fight now. The eyes of each of the 6 venerables flashed fiercely, and they all struck. Their respective domains overlapped and intertwined, forming a dazzling, colorful light spot, emitting an unparalleled pressure that could make half of Great Wilderness State tremble. The nearby mysterious demon liquid dispersed. The boundless forbidden land was stirred. The air was filled with a suffocating sense of extinction. Seeing that they were about to unleash this terrible domain, Jiang Fan raised his hand to stop them. His deep eyes stared at Venerate Wudong. He sighed softly, "No need to act. She won't succeed." The 6 venerables looked at Jiang Fan in slight confusion and doubt. How could Jiang Fan know? Yet as soon as his words fell, the fortune lost from their bodies returned to them. The heaven and earth's fortune gathering here suddenly halted and began returning to its original place. Venerate Wudong alone closed her eyes, fingers grabbing the sky, maintaining the posture of absorbing fortune, standing still. Jiang Fan gently lowered Venerate Wudong's raised small hand, revealing a sad expression in his eyes. "Senior, it's regrettable. Senior Lu Jiolin asked me to tell you, he cannot fulfill the promise. Rest in peace." Venerate Wudong seemed to lose some strong support. 2 lines of tears streamed down her closed eyes. Her black hair, visible to the naked eye, turned white, still braided into 2 strands, lightly dancing with the wind. Her fair and delicate face rapidly became a grayish-brown. Age spots emerged like mushrooms after the rain. It was like an invisible blade carved wrinkles on her forehead, face, lips, and neck. In the blink of an eye, the dazzling, charming maiden turned into a decrepit white-haired elder. She ceased breathing, standing beneath the silver apricot tree, eyes closed, staring into the distance. No movement at all. The entire scene fell silent. The sudden change caught everyone by surprise. After a long time, Red Dust Venerable stammered, "What is going on?" Jiang Fan gazed at the old Venerate Wudong, said, "This is her true form before her death. Time did not spare her after all, before her death." Red Dust Venerable felt as if struck by lightning. "You say Venerate Wudong she?" Wuyu Venerable and the other 4 venerables equally felt as if the sky had fallen. The Great Wilderness State's strongest, Venerate Wudong, was actually already dead. Jiang Fan slightly nodded, his voice hoarse. How could Venerate Wudong mistake the one she waited for all her life? Everyone's heart was hit hard. Indeed, waiting 500 years for senior brother Lu, how could she mistake Jiang Fan for him? Unless the one before them was no longer Venerate Wudong. Red Dust Venerable's charming eyes welled up with a thin mist, and her heart felt an inexplicable melancholy. Yes, she always said she waited 500 years, 500 years. But she had already been here for a full 1,000 years. She had long been ensnared in the giant emperor's sleeping curse 500 years ago, never waking again. She ultimately did not wait for that person. Wuyu Venerable's eyes flickered, his harsh voice uncharacteristically soft. "So what are we witnessing?" Venerable Lionjing, who had not spoken, glanced past the aging, lifeless Venerate Wudong, looked at the 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree. He sighed gently. It was Venerate Wudong's vision before she passed. This 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree developed spiritual wisdom, secretly fulfilling Venerate Wudong's wish, allowing her to rest entirely in peace. Everyone simultaneously gazed at the 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree. A giant shock surged in their hearts. So, for 500 years, the true forbidden landmaster was this 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree. Everything was under its control. Wudong examining her with greed. She is the human supreme of the heavenly human five declines. In the era when sages do not emerge, she governs heaven and earth. Such a super magnate, how could she not have one or two unrivaled divine objects on her? Swish, a demon venerable's eyes flashed, and they were the first to make a move. A chain was raised, and through the air, it wound around Venerate Wudong's aged body, intending to roll it away. Wu Yu Venerable and Red Dust Venerable's eyes glinted secretly with a sharp light. Not only did they not vie for it, on the contrary, their bodies retreated violently. Jiang Fan also cautiously distanced himself. This 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree, capable of becoming the Forbidden Land Master and manipulating the body of Venerate Wudong to fulfill her last wish. Even, it allowed her to briefly regain her youthful appearance. Such means are truly remarkable. Touching Venerate Wudong's body while in its presence is definitely not a good idea. Sure enough, the chain hadn't yet touched Venerate Wudong's body when the ground suddenly cracked open. A massively thick tree root, like a tentacle, stretched out and forcefully struck the chain. Crunch! This demon venerable's chain was certainly not a mundane object. Yet under the strike of the tree root tentacle, it shattered on the spot into numerous fragments, shooting out in all directions like rain. Venerable Jing and 6 demon venerables were all enveloped within. As for others, it didn't matter. The demon venerable who made the move had his body turned into a beehive by the fragments. Divine blood scattered, bone and flesh splattered. Even the black divine ring behind him flickered uncertainly. Hiss! In just an instant, the demon venerable who made the move was almost smashed to pieces. His face showed a look of terror. Realizing he had caused a great trouble, he turned and wanted to flee. With a loud bang, several tree roots suddenly shot out from beneath him, wrapping around his limbs. Before he could activate his domain, another tree root struck violently at his divine ring. Crack! The divine ring shattered on the spot. The demon venerable's divine ring shattered, and connected in heart-spirit, he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face rapidly turning golden. Then his head tilted, and he fainted on the spot. When the 5 demon venerables awkwardly repelled the rain like fragments, they happened to witness the scene before them. All couldn't help but feel their scalps tingle. A divinity transformation venerable being easily defeated and having his divine ring destroyed by this ginkgo tree? Squeak! A sound of friction. The trunk of the ginkgo tree slowly cracked open, revealing a human eye-shaped fissure. In the middle, a pill pearl containing immense demonic energy was embedded. Venerable Jing squinted her eyes. It's Venerate Wudong's 100-flower origin. Before dying, she left her origin with the ginkgo tree. No wonder this ginkgo tree is spiritual and has such high cultivation. At this time, the pill pearl turned. Only then did everyone realize this fissure is the eye of the 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree. It scanned the crowd, uttering a hoarse voice, like the sound of a broken bearing on a wooden door opening. Truly a group of greedy beings. The Master shouldn't have had mercy on you beings of the great wilderness state, abandoning the absorption of heavenly fortune. If she had stepped into the great sage realm, she would be alive now. How would she end up being coveted after her demise? It turns out, Venerate Wudong once had the thought of seizing the fortune of the great wilderness state. But upon witnessing outside the Forbidden Land, the pitiful beings seeking her shelter, she ultimately couldn't bear to harm them. Therefore, during her last sleep, she passed on peacefully. The 5 demon venerables didn't feel remorse, being demon cultivators with no sense of shame. They only cared about their own safety. Wu Yu Venerable said, "The one who made the move is the venerable of the White Bone Demon Cave, not related to us." The ginkgo tree said indifferently, "There's no difference. The Master instructed before her last sleep if she doesn't wake, don't let the outside world know. Because, if the news of her fate spreads, the beings around the Forbidden Land will lose their last haven of peace, the Holy Land. Therefore, none of you should think about leaving." Rumble. The words were still fresh. The entire nest shook. The mysterious demon liquid formed into strips, gathered tightly together. Forming an airtight black sphere, it sealed off one part of the heavens, making it impossible for them to escape even with wings. Wu Yu Venerable's face changed dramatically, shouting, "Everyone join forces, break the mysterious demon liquid." Red Dust Venerable and the other 3 venerables also had their faces changed dramatically. Without hesitation, they jointly struck one corner of the sphere. The combined power of the 5 is one of world-ending might. As formidable as the mysterious demon liquid is, it couldn't withstand one strike. On the spot it was pierced with a hole. However, before they could escape, the sphere suddenly contracted, and the hole was instantly blocked. And as it contracted, the mysterious demon liquid condensed several times, making the sphere's walls incomparably thick. When they joined forces for another strike, it could no longer be pierced through. What made them even more desperate was, the sphere was still contracting rapidly, eventually forming a substantial sticky sphere that forever solidified everyone inside. Red Dust Venerable's face turned pale, casting her last hope towards Venerable Jing, saying, "Senior Jing, if not acting now, then when?" Compared to them, Venerable Jing was incredibly calm. Upon hearing, she calmly raised her eyes, saying, "Before you kill us, I will kill this boy." Among the people present, Jiang Fan was the only boy, who she meant was self-evident. Jiang Fan had been watching from the sidelines. Upon hearing, he blinked his innocent eyes. "Why kill me?" Venerable Jing glanced at him unharmed, saying, "The chain fragments aimed at everyone except you. This ginkgo tree seems to be protecting you." Wu Yu Venerable and the others suddenly realized. Indeed, everyone was affected, but Jiang Fan remained untouched. Evidently, the ginkgo tree protected him, unwilling for him to be harmed. Thinking of this, Wu Yu Venerable's eyes showed a sinister look. "Little brat, you dare deceive me. You said you're Venerate Wudong's disciple nephew. You even claimed to plead for us. And the result? Damn it. The gifts had been received by Jiang Fan, yet not only did they fail to buy a way out, they were instead hunted by the ginkgo tree. If he'd known, he would have slowly looked for a way in the nest." Jiang Fan shrugged. "I didn't deceive you. I am indeed Venerate Wudong's disciple nephew. As for the gifts, well, you insisted on giving them to me. What can I do?" Speaking, he quickly retreated to Venerate Wudong's side. Turning his head to look at the ginkgo tree behind him, he said, "Brother Tree, my uncle and I rely on you." "Calling me what?" "Brother Tree." The ginkgo tree involuntarily moved its eyeball, looking at Jiang Fan with puzzlement. This guy, could he be a bit slick? Venerate Wudong said Lu Jiolin was a very serious man. How is his heir like this? All right, whatever, he does count as Venerate Wudong's disciple nephew. He must be protected. The ginkgo tree looked at Venerable Jing, showing a trace of dread. "I know why you're here, but I won't give it to you. Nor will I let you leave." The milk-white divine ring behind Venerable Jing's head emitted a compelling light. Her eyes showed calmness. "It's not up to you." A terrifying wave of air suddenly expanded from her surroundings. The 5 demon venerables, akin to leaves in a storm, were flung, slammed into the surrounding mysterious demon liquid, sticking there. The 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree was also blown and swayed, its leaves producing a rushing rustle. The tightly attached roots to the ground cracked drastically, appearing as if about to be uprooted. Fan was secretly shocked. Is this the power of a great cultivator at the stage of heavenly person 4 declines? Just the aura it exudes carries an invincible might that could sweep away all obstacles. Fortunately, the 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree is not something to be trifled with. The pill pearl in its eye, containing the origin of Venerate Wudong, emitted a verdant green light. Wherever the light shone, it immediately calmed the storms. On one side was a raging storm, on the other side, tranquility. The two were clearly separated by the boundary of the green light. In the next instant, Venerable Jing vanished from sight, while at the same time, the roots of the 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree turned into untraceable shadows. Even Jiang Fan, who utilized the wind origin, found it difficult to sense the trajectory of their airflow. But from the occasional burst of destructive light, it could be seen that the two were fiercely contesting. Pow! Boom! The arcs of light splattering in all directions. Even the mysterious demon liquid, which the 5 demon venerables couldn't break through, was like a thin sheet in the face of the residual arcs of light, effortlessly pierced through, opening holes one after another. The 5 demon venerables, stuck, turned pale, each one of them fearful. If even one of those arcs hit them, aside from perhaps Wu Yu Venerable and Red Dust Venerable surviving, the other 3 venerables would be doomed. Jiang Fan also grew pale, hurriedly protecting Wudong Venerate's remains, taking cover behind the ginkgo tree. But where can be safe in such a battle between venerables of this level? A remnant flash of light carved a long, dark crack in the void, shooting directly toward Jiang Fan. It was too fast, giving Jiang Fan no time to react. Pow! Suddenly, a root flew over, blocking the remnant light. The ginkgo tree was shielding them. The root broke with a sound, spraying milky white sap. Jiang Fan's heart sank. In the battle of the strong, how could one afford to be distracted? Moreover, the ginkgo tree was already no match for Venerable Jing. Swish! Dull sounds came from the sky, several roots consecutively got chopped off. Soon after, a tremendous crash echoed. The tree crown of the ginkgo tree was shaved down by half. A large spray of tree sap splattered like rain. The trunk trembled violently. The remaining few roots emerged, powerless to continue fighting. "You dare to be distracted!" Venerable Jing appeared, clad in a black long skirt. Her fair right hand gripped a serrated, peculiar long sword, which emanated an astonishingly powerful spiritual pressure. It was clearly a top-grade spirit sword. The ginkgo tree raised its last remaining root, enveloping Jiang Fan and venerate Wudong's body, its voice weak. "Alas, I am but an ordinary tree. Had I any bit of divine tree potential, I wouldn't have received my master's legacy only to be defeated at your hands." Venerable Jing didn't deny it. The ginkgo tree before her had inherited all the origin from a heavenly person, 5 decays supreme. If it had fully absorbed it, it would have become a new generation supreme within 500 years. She carried the sawtooth sword to the ginkgo tree's eye, said flatly, "Surrender your origin yourself, and I will spare your life." The ginkgo tree gave a bitter smile. "Taking away my origin would deprive me of my spiritual wisdom, turning me into the most ordinary of trees. No one in this world would be left to protect my master. In that case, better to kill me." Venerable Jing hesitated for a full 3 breaths, then slowly raised the sword, saying, "Very well, I will grant your wish." She swung her sword downward, aiming for the ginkgo tree's eye. There lay the tree's core. This strike meant inevitable death. Seeing this, Jiang Fan gritted his teeth, initiated mute zen, and said, "Use my body to block her strike. Quick!" The ginkgo tree was stunned. How could Jiang Fan, with his 5 apertures nascent soul, withstand such a blow? He would likely be shattered into a mist of blood under the spiritual pressure. Knowing this, why does Jiang Fan still make such a request? Could it be there's something on Jiang Fan that could withstand this attack? No time to think, it decisively wrapped Jiang Fan with its roots, moved him with instantaneous movement to stand before itself. As Venerable Jing's sword was about to descend, she shook her head slightly. A futile resistance. A mere root, how could it withstand this sword? Yet suddenly she noticed Jiang Fan entwined in the root. This made her hesitate, and it was too late to retract the sword. The sawtooth sword easily sliced through the root like cutting through tofu, striking Jiang Fan. The imagined bloody scene of Jiang Fan cleaved in 2 did not appear. Instead, the sword halted abruptly 3 inches from his body. A faint thread of rule power emanated from within him, blocking the strike. "A sage's rule?" Venerable Jing was greatly shocked. She never expected that this nascent soul realm youth before her would be under the protection of a sage. The ginkgo tree was also startled, but it quickly reacted, seizing the pause from Venerable Jing's failed attack, several roots piercing her body like sharp arrows. "Hiss!" Venerable Jing gasped in pain, hurriedly severing them with her sword before her flesh was shredded by the roots. Then she retreated to a distant spot. From the 4 bloody holes, divine blood gushed out like a spring. It also carried the origin power of venerate Wudong, causing the wounds to expand. This strike left her severely injured. The ginkgo tree sighed lightly, raspingly chuckled. "Venerable Jing, now you cannot do anything to me." Though both were in a bad state, the ginkgo tree still controlled the forbidden land. If the fight continued, Venerable Jing wouldn't get any advantage. Venerable Jing turned pale, casting a somewhat resentful glance at Jiang Fan. "Kid, you deceived me into thinking you were venerate Wudong's junior disciple, and I haven't settled that with you. And now you've tricked me. Outrageous." Jiang Fan felt the loss of that thread of rule within his body, heart aching. The life-saving law used just like that. He glared angrily at Venerable Jing, saying, "But you deceived me as well. Claiming you were lost in the forbidden land, it was clearly for venerate Wudong's relics. We are both in it, no need to act virtuous. You." Venerable Jing clenched her silver teeth, glaring fiercely at Jiang Fan. That little rascal. Feeling her life force rapidly dwindling with the loss of divine blood, she turned to the ginkgo tree, saying, "Give me all of venerate Wudong's merit." She guarded the great wilderness state with 5 declines of the heavenly human form, protecting countless beings throughout the millennia, accumulating considerable merit. "Give it to me, and I won't trouble you further." The ginkgo tree sighed slightly. "So it was merit you came for. I guess someone important to you cannot break through to a great sage, so you want to seize someone else's merit, hoping for an opportunity to enter the virtuous realm." Venerable Jing covered her bleeding wound, said gravely, "That's none of your concern. Give it to me, or next time it won't be me who comes. He won't be as kind as I, willing to spare your life." The ginkgo tree's voice became hoarser, speaking with earnestness. I will not give my master's merit to anyone. I also advise the person you are with, if he cannot enter the virtuous realm, it means he is not accepted by others, unable to win their faith. As they say, virtue not matched to position must bring calamity. Forcing entry into the sage realm will end up as an inferior sage suffering backlash. Not worth it. Jing's eyes flashed with hesitation, but it was quickly replaced with determination. This is none of your concern. I'll ask once more. Will you hand over the merit or not? The silver apricot tree rasped. I won't give it to anyone. If you try to take it by force, I'd rather destroy it. Venerable Jing gritted her teeth and said, Fine, as long as you won't regret it. She turned around and sliced through the mysterious demon liquid with her sawtooth sword, then turned away. Before leaving, she glanced back at Jiang Fan. The divine blood she left behind on the ground transformed into a lingering shadow as she departed. Jiang Fan felt a shiver down his spine and some guilt, thinking, that old woman won't start eyeing me, will she? The silver apricot tree's tone abruptly weakened. You've ruined her major plan. Of course she'll remember you. Originally, the merits of venerate Wudong were within venerable Jing's grasp. Because of Jiang Fan's life-saving law, not only did she fail, but she also ended up seriously injured. Jiang Fan's scalp tingled slightly. Venerable Jing was not an ordinary divinity transformation realm cultivator. She was a giant among the heavenly person 4 declines. He decided that once he returned to Taikang State, he would bind himself to the great wine sacrifice there. Only then could he feel a bit safer. Brother Tree, what about you? From what you said, there's also a being at the heavenly human 5 declines behind that old woman. The silver apricot tree replied. Aside from the supreme of the heavenly human 5 declines, no one else needs merit. These merits are accumulated over 1,000 years from the owner's invisible protection of the creatures around the forbidden land. I can't let anyone else have them. Jiang Fan recalled the many offerings of pigs, cows, and sheep he saw outside the forbidden land. Venerate Wudong had invisibly protected the weak creatures of a great state, benefiting countless beings, thereby forming these merits. He couldn't help but ponder, Brother Tree, if doing good deeds can accumulate merit, then it doesn't seem difficult at all. Do good for show and then hire people to spread the word far and wide. Won't the merits come that way? The silver apricot tree replied. It's not that easy. Merit requires both contributions and virtues. Contribution is judged by the heavens. Virtue is determined by human hearts. Deception can indeed sway people's hearts and embellish virtue. But contribution, that cannot be faked no matter how much one tries. There is an ancient saint 3 feet above one's head. Without enough contribution, merit cannot descend. Jiang Fan suddenly understood. It turns out that merit requires both heavenly and human acknowledgement. Without genuinely contributing to the lives or ensuring the survival of the masses, one cannot gain recognition. If merit could be gained through deception, venerable Jing wouldn't need to travel from the heavenly state to seize merit from afar. Thinking this, he asked, Brother Tree, what exactly does one need to enter the virtuous realm? I've heard people say it requires fortune, but now you say it requires merit. The silver apricot tree replied. Both are possible. Entering via fortune sacrifices a realm for oneself. Entering via merit protects a realm, thus elevating oneself. Which method one chooses depends on the individual. However, I've heard my master say that entering via fortune comes with great restrictions. Moreover, entering via fortune isn't welcomed and might even be forbidden. Jiang Fan nodded slightly. Entering via fortune is a practice where one gains at the expense of others. Unless it's a matter of life and death in Central Earth, requiring someone to quickly enter the sage realm, there's no choice but to draw upon the fortune of the heavens and earth. In peaceful times, those who enter via fortune are utterly self-serving. That supreme from the heavenly state is likely already forbidden from entering via fortune in Central Earth. Helplessly, they have no choice but to seize merit to enter sagehood. Following Brother Tree, I've gained new insights again, Jiang Fan laughed. The silver apricot tree looked at Jiang Fan, saying, It should be said that you've made me look at you in a different light. To even have a sage use a law to protect you. My master never managed to form a connection with a sage. Upon hearing this, Jiang Fan sighed and relayed the story of the Heavenly Eye Sage's situation in general terms. Upon learning that those who withstood all trials would have a sage protecting them, the silver apricot tree relaxed and said, With that explanation, I'm now at ease. Jiang Fan couldn't help but roll his eyes. The mentality of being unable to see a brother succeed. When did it blow from Taikang State to the great wilderness state? At that moment, he noticed the 5 from Wuyu Venerable, along with the one whose divine ring had been shattered. He tentatively asked, "Brother Tree, are you really planning to kill them?" The silver apricot tree heard the underlying meaning in Jiang Fan's question and replied, "Do you have a better suggestion?" Jiang Fan earnestly said, "The ancient giants have returned. If you kill them, the number of venerables in the great wilderness state will be halved. Who will then protect it?" The silver apricot tree showed no surprise. As if it had long known of the ancient giant's return, it asked, "But what about the secret that my master has already fallen if they leak it out? If the demon cultivators of the great wilderness find out, they'll come to harm them." Jiang Fan sighed helplessly. "There's no need to keep the secret anymore. This time, the ancient giants are coming with greater momentum than 1,000 years ago. Even outside, the forbidden land will become their hunting ground. Before the demon cultivators bring harm, the ancient giants will have devoured them all." Upon hearing this, the silver apricot tree thought for a moment, shaking its massive body. 6 golden ginkgo fruits hovered in front of it. It lifted its gaze towards Wuyu Venerable and the others, who at that moment were straining to listen to their conversation. Their survival now depended on whether Jiang Fan's plea would work. The silver apricot tree said, "Since my brother pleads for you, I'll spare you." Wuyu Venerable and his companions felt as if they'd been granted amnesty. But before they could celebrate, the silver apricot tree added, "However, I don't want today's events to spread. So, certain preventative measures need to be taken. You will swallow the ginkgo fruit." With a whoosh, 6 ginkgo fruits flew to them individually. The unconscious venerate had no choice, as the ginkgo fruit entered his mouth directly. The remaining 5 flew to the faces of the 5 venerables. Wuyu Venerable asked with fear, "What will happen if we swallow it?" The silver apricot tree said, "With a single thought, it will take root and sprout inside you, bursting you from within." Huh. Upon hearing this, everyone's faces changed. Doesn't this mean their lives are in the hands of the silver apricot tree? You can also choose not to eat it and stay here forever. Seeing their reluctance, the silver apricot tree spoke with a murderous aura. Red Dust Venerable looked at the silver apricot tree, gritted her teeth, and said, "Then swallow it. I haven't experienced the feeling of being oppressed by a tree yet." She then promptly swallowed it in one gulp. Rustle, rustle. The silver apricot tree's eyes widened, and its body shuddered violently. What audacious words are these? It's just a pure old tree that's 1,000 years old. With her taking the lead, Wuyu Venerable also swallowed it after gritting his teeth. The other 3 venerables followed suit and swallowed their ginkgo fruits. Only then did the silver apricot tree feel assured. It looked at Jiang Fan, and a green light in the shape of a silver apricot tree emerged from the soul bead in its eyes, entering Jiang Fan's body. Immediately, Jiang Fan felt 6 familiar fluctuations. They were from Wuyu Venerable and the others. "What is this?" Jiang Fan thought with a huge question mark on his forehead. The silver apricot tree rasped with laughter. "Their lives are now yours to command. Whoever disobeys you, activate the seeds within them." Fan was taken aback and said, "Leave it to me." Before him were 6 venerables, 2 of whom had even reached the realm of the heavenly human 2 declines. The silver apricot tree chuckled and then looked at the 6 demon venerables. "Do any of you have objections?" Wuyu Venerable was also surprised. Such important control was actually handed over to Jiang Fan, a junior. Of course, he was happy to accept this decision. Being controlled by Jiang Fan was certainly better than being reined in by a 1,000-year-old tree of great power. "I have no objections," Wuyu Venerable calmly said. Red Dust Venerable's eyes lit up and she laughed gleefully. "I have even less objection. Being suppressed by anyone is the same. Being suppressed by the young gentleman is a profit for me." Jiang Fan almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. This woman, couldn't she restrain herself a little? Always talking about suppression. She might as well change her name to Xianxia Venerable. The other 3 venerables all agreed, while the one lying on the ground remained silent. It's well known that an adult's silence is acquiescence. Thus, the decision passed unanimously. The silver apricot tree was very pleased with their performance, manipulated them, and released the 6 demon venerables. Simultaneously, a path leading to the outside was cleared. Each disperse now. Remember to keep the secret and restrict your disciples from acting recklessly nearby. Otherwise, bear the consequences yourselves. They were relieved as if granted amnesty. The 5 venerables carried the unconscious venerable and immediately flew away. After confirming, they left the forbidden land. The silver apricot tree regretfully sighed. "A bunch of fools, not even knowing they've been sold out." Jiang Fan was slightly stunned. "Brother Tree, what do you mean by that?" The silver apricot tree said. "The great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness state has come to me to complain. The ancient giant is about to appear, yet the 6 demon gates aren't following the Kinshin Bureau's command and scheduling at all. Moreover, 2 of the demon gates are still fighting each other." Jiang Fan was puzzled. No wonder the silver apricot tree hasn't left this place for 1,000 years, and yet isn't surprised by the ancient giant's arrival. It turns out the great wine sacrifice came to him. Thinking about the great wine sacrifice luring them in and then escaping himself, it all made sense. He chuckled bitterly. "So, you guys had already planned to use strong means to control the heads of the 6 demon gates. Even without my pleading, you actually wouldn't kill them, would you?" Turned out he was worrying for nothing. The silver apricot tree said, "Pretty much. Killing them for secrecy was just to force their compliance. However, what differed from the plan is that the control was supposed to be handed to the great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness state. Now, it's been given to you." Jiang Fan was momentarily stunned. "Is that all right? The great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness won't trouble me. Were anyone else to gain control over the 4 transformation gods and 1 bodhisattva of Taikang state, the great wine sacrifice wouldn't be worried, but Jiang Fan would jump with concern. Because if they controlled the 4 transformation gods and 1 bodhisattva and left Taikang state, there would be no need to resist the ancient giant anymore. They would simply lie flat and sleep peacefully." The silver apricot tree said, "If she has objections, let her come find me. Besides, a drunkard, you don't need to fear her." A drunkard, the great wine sacrifice. Jiang Fan was baffled. "Brother Tree, do you have some misunderstanding about the great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness?" In his view, the heads of a state's government would undoubtedly be peak figures in terms of prowess, intellect, and skill, just like the great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness, always mysterious, deserving respect. The sudden mention of the great wine sacrifice as a drunkard really shattered his first impression. The silver apricot tree chuckled. "You're the one with the misunderstanding about the great wine sacrifice, aren't you?" The master once said, "Among the great wine sacrifices of Central Earth's 9 provinces, only your Taikang state's great wine sacrifice seems a bit normal. The rest all have serious flaws. Just like this great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness, addicted to alcohol, a complete drunkard, once even caused delays in many major events due to drinking." Jiang Fan was taken aback for quite a while. "How did a drunkard become the great wine sacrifice?" The silver apricot tree said. "Who knows? Central Earth itself is mysterious. Even the master has many puzzles he can't figure out." Mentioning the master, the silver apricot tree's voice became gentle, enveloping its old body with tightly wrapped roots, tenderly holding it in front. In its huge eyes, milky white sap flowed. This must be its tears. "I accompanied the master for 1,000 years, seeing her transition from expectation to disappointment, watching her hair turn from black to white, watching her carve their names again and again. 1,000 years later, I awaited the conclusion on her behalf. Yet it wasn't the result she wanted." Jiang Fan felt a surge of sorrow within, saying, "Lu Jiolin ended his life in a lonely corner of Taikang state. Before dying, he still cared about their agreement, leaving behind a beast skin, instructing its inheritor to tell venerate Wudong not to wait for him anymore. Unfortunately, I came too late, making venerate Wudong wait an entire life." The silver apricot tree shed tears. Its voice choked with emotion. They both had each other in their hearts till death. The master didn't wait for the wrong person. Jiang Fan's heart grew heavier with sadness. Even someone as strong as the human supreme would leave regrets. What about ordinary people? Any farewell could become a forever goodbye, deeply engraved as a regret on life's path. With each turn, it pains with the bumps and jolts, until reaching life's end. Jiang Fan couldn't help but reflect on his own life. If there was something deeply regretful, it was Ling Shu's death. Fortunately, she returned, if there was anything else regrettable. His mind conjured up an image of a woman in colorful clothes, standing and smiling in the wind. The gentle woman whom he did not return gentleness to. During his most unnoticed time, she was like a beam of light, illuminating the boy's window. But before he could repay her, she returned to the spirit beast sect. From now on, it's difficult for them to meet again. Time and space will ruthlessly sever their bonds, Jiang Fan suddenly thought. Could it be someday Gong Kei might end up like venerate Wudong, with gray hair no longer youthful, lonely sitting at the peak of the spirit beast sect mountain, gazing towards Taikang state, reminiscing about the boy he once was, and then pass away with a smile. Thoughts of this struck him with heartache. He looked again at Venerate Wudong, who was left behind with regrets. He gritted his teeth and said, "The fate of Venerate Wudong cannot be repeated. If Gong Kei doesn't want to come see me, then I'll go to see her." The silver apricot tree seemed to sense something, wiped away the milky white tears from its eyes with its roots, saying, "Your state of mind seems to have changed." Jiang Fan gently nodded. "I gained some insights." He shook his head, temporarily suppressing the impulse to see Gong Kei. "What are your plans for the future?" Venerate Wudong received news of Lu Jiolin. The silver apricot tree's mission imparted by its master had ended. "Me," the silver apricot tree chuckled. "What the master spoke of most frequently were their yearnings. I really want to know what kind of place their enchanted haven is. I want to go see." Jiang Fan wanted to stop it. "In this world, is there truly any enchanted haven? If there is companionship, even in purgatory, it's where the heart finds peace. If separated, the enchanted haven would be just another cage." However, the silver apricot tree's next words silenced Jiang Fan. "I've heard that the world has reincarnation. So deeply in love, perhaps they have long renewed their past bonds, heading to a distant utopia. I shall go to see if they are there, then I will stay with them. If not, then I will wait for their return." Jiang Fan remained silent. Without a goal, life becomes meaningless. The silver apricot tree waited for 500 years for Lu Jiolin's promise after its master's departure. Now, with a new goal, how could Jiang Fan stop it? He raised a slight smile and asked, "Do you know where the distant utopia is?" The silver apricot tree replied, "I only know it's in a very faraway place." Jiang Fan asked again, "Is there a way to leave the central earth realm?" Only a sage can tear through a realm. The silver apricot tree pondered and said, "Don't worry, the central earth realm is not impenetrable. Cracks appear at specific times, and I will act accordingly." Jiang Fan recalled the heavenly ascending ancient road tearing through the void, and remembered the chaotic ancient blood marquee tearing through the central earth realm's barrier, threatening him from afar. With the arrival of the ancient giant, the world is in chaos, and cracks will appear more frequently than usual. Jiang Fan looked at the silver apricot tree's mostly severed roots and its half-cut crown. After a brief thought, he took out a small pouch. Inside was the breath soil. Currently, a fixed seed was buried in the breath soil, and its sprout had grown significantly taller and had acquired a blue halo over time. He moved it aside and took out half of the breath soil, handing it to the silver apricot tree. "This soil should be useful to you, take it." The silver apricot tree looked closely and exclaimed, "Breath soil from the heavenly realm? You have such a thing." This was a divine object exclusively owned by the imperial family when the angel race ruled the heavenly realm. For our plant race, it has the ability to transform decay into a miracle. My master once wanted to find a piece for me, to help me evolve into a divine tree, but unfortunately it was extremely scarce in the heavenly realm. Impossible to acquire. You actually have so much. Oh, the breath soil can allow an ordinary tree to evolve into a divine tree. Does this mean the fixed seed, staying long in the breath soil, will also evolve? He felt a surge of anticipation, curious to see what the fixed seed would grow into once it became a divine tree. "Gifted to you, take it." Jiang Fan handed over the breath soil. The silver apricot tree extended its roots but withdrew them, saying, "I cannot accept it, it's too precious." Jiang Fan looked at the old remains of Venerate Wudong and said, "If they have renewed their past bonds in the distant utopia, this bit of breath soil can be my blessing to them." Upon hearing this, the silver apricot tree could no longer refuse. With a choked voice, it said, "Thank you, thank you." Jiang Fan not only brought news of Lu Jiolin, but also sacrificed the great sage's law to protect his master's remains. Now he was giving the precious breath soil to it. After a moment of silence, a pill pearl floated in the silver apricot tree's eyes. Soon, a small red pearl emitting a holy soft light dropped out. The silver apricot tree held it with its roots and handed it to Jiang Fan. "What is this?" Jiang Fan asked, looking at the small red pearl. The soft light it emitted made him feel comfortable in both body and mind. "The merit of my master. Some people also call it the merit divine pearl." Jiang Fan was surprised. "Why are you giving it to me?" Just earlier, the silver apricot tree had explicitly stated that it would not give away its master's merit to anyone. The silver apricot tree said, "Keep it. If someday you reach the stage of the heavenly human 5 declines, then use it. Perhaps it could help you ascend to sageship. Or, if you find a heavenly person 5 decays supreme worthy of assistance, give him the merit divine pearl. Consider it a legacy my master leaves for the central earth." Upon hearing the first part, Jiang Fan was unmoved. He didn't even dare to guarantee he could undergo divinity transformation in this life, let alone the heavenly human 5 declines. Hearing the latter part, he pondered for a moment and accepted the merit divine pearl. All right, I will pick a trustworthy human supreme. The silver apricot tree smiled and finally accepted the breath soil. With this matter settled, Jiang Fan had to go see the Usura clan to plan for Taikang state. He took a deep breath with a face of reluctance, said, "Brother tree, then I take my leave." The silver apricot tree said, "Take care." "Oh, I still don't know your name." "Jiang Fan." "Oh, brother Jiang, may we meet again by fate." Jiang Fan nodded, following the mysterious path left by the 6 demon venerables, moving far away. The silver apricot tree suddenly realized something and said, "Brother Jiang, wait a moment." It thought for a moment. Dozens of mysterious demon liquid gathered into a water tank-sized sphere. "I sensed you have some mysterious demon liquid. You must have been using it as a weapon against enemies, right? Then I'll gift you another batch. With my seal in you, you can manipulate the mysterious demon liquid like me. This water tank will be enough for you to use." Jiang Fan was overjoyed. The amount of mysterious demon liquid he had in his jade box was now 100 times more. If used properly, the effect would be astounding. "Thank you, brother tree." Jiang Fan quickly took out a space storage device and stored it away. In a passing thought, looking at the countless mysterious demon liquid, he couldn't help but be tempted. The silver apricot tree was about to head out to the outside world. These mysterious demon liquids should be of no use to it. Why not give them all to him? The silver apricot tree seemed to understand what he was thinking, its eyes slightly serious. "Carrying too much mysterious demon liquid will bring upon you a great cause and effect." Jiang Fan was taken aback. "What do you mean by that?" The silver apricot tree said. "Do you know where the mysterious demon liquid came from?" Jiang Fan had no idea where to learn about its origins. He hadn't had the mysterious demon liquid for long. However, the silver apricot tree revealed a secret that made Jiang Fan's pupils contract sharply. The mysterious demon liquid is the remnant shed of the first-generation true demon of destruction. The mysterious demon liquid in this place has existed since the establishment of the central Earth realm. It contains immense demonic qi, once polluting the entire great wilderness state, making demon cultivation flourish there. Jiang Fan suddenly understood. No wonder only great wilderness state had demon cultivators while Taikang state and the other states did not. It was all due to historical reasons. And the source was the mysterious demon liquid in the great wilderness forbidden land. He immediately furrowed his brows. "What does this have to do with cause and effect?" The silver apricot tree said sternly, "The mysterious demon liquid is the unique nourishment for the reincarnations of true demons, speeding up their growth into true demons. If all the mysterious demon liquid here were given to you, sooner or later the reincarnated true demon of destruction would find you, bringing you an unimaginable catastrophe. Even the amount you currently have is already quite dangerous. I can't let you carry any more with you. When I leave the central Earth realm, I will take this area of mysterious demon liquid with me, clearing a hidden danger for the central Earth. Letter 1D557, letter 1D563, letter 1D41E, letter 1D41E, letter 1D604, letter 1D41E. Letter 1D680, letter 1D560, letter 1D696, Jiang Fan was shaken. The mysterious demon liquid had such use. He immediately extinguished the thought of acquiring more mysterious demon liquid, for the present reincarnated true demon was right by his side. Jiang Fan nodded lightly and turned to leave. As he walked along the road out, a beeping sound from the moon realm came from his chest. Jiang Fan was surprised. He was already in the great wilderness state, yet the moon realm could still deliver messages. After a brief surprise, he hurriedly took it out to check the message. The current Taikang state is rather unsettled with venerate Zinni, a demoness, and a half-giant. Would the message now be contacting him because the heavenly mechanism pavilion is facing trouble? But with just a glance, his mouth twitched. "Death Diary, sorry to interrupt everyone. I have a friend in trouble and would like everyone's advice." Main Palace. "Go ahead, Death Diary. My friend used some mysterious item and her chest keeps growing. She's very distressed right now." Main Palace, a mysterious item. Flower cluster growing larger. Flowers in bloom, distressed. Main Palace. "What mysterious item? Where can you buy it? I have a friend who wants to buy it." Flower cluster, my friend wants to grow larger. Flowers in bloom, my friend wants to experience this distress. Never ruin the scenery. Why do I feel like the friends you're talking about are actually yourselves? The moon realm collectively fell silent. Never ruin the scenery. Did I say something wrong? Never ruin the scenery. Why isn't anyone speaking? Never ruin the scenery. Should I stop talking then? The silent moon realm immediately became lively again. Death diary, but my friend's chest is already bigger than her head. Main palace, flower cluster, flowers in bloom. Jiang Fan was utterly astonished. He really hit the nail on the head. Under the effect of breath soil, Gu Zinner's chest became bigger than her head. This, recalling her petite figure, carrying such a bountiful that was larger than her head. A picture of what kind of giant and childlike figure floated in his mind. It seemed not too bad. Many gentlemen indeed favor this type. The premise is it doesn't keep growing. Thinking about it, he wrote, "Pick a good name. I happen to have 100 spirit pill that can treat deformities, which should help you." It was originally prepared for the East Sea Third Princess. But since Gu Zinner urgently needed it, he could only prioritize her for now and then gather materials to refine another one for the East Sea Third Princess later. Death diary, really? You're so good to me, boo-hoo-hoo. Oh, I mean you're so good to my friend. Pick a good name. I'm in the great wilderness state, unsure when I can return. Can your friend wait? Death diary, how long? It's growing faster and faster now. Pick a good name, not sure as fast as today or as slow as half a month. Death diary, half a month. Boo-hoo, my friend has such a tough life. Jiang Fan had no choice either. He and the four-crowned Usura king were both efficient, and the matter of marriage wouldn't delay too long. He was just afraid that unexpected incidents might occur, causing delays. So it's impossible to provide an exact return date. How about letting Gu Zinner come to the great wilderness state? But to use a state-level teleportation array requires approval from the Kinshin Bureau and a precious top-grade crystal stone. Can Gu Zinner come over? Or perhaps he should waste a top-grade crystal stone to send the 100 spirit pill back to taking state. Just then, the moon realm chimed again. Flowers in bloom. I'll send someone to give you 100 spirit pill. Go to the Kinshin Bureau Sky State Transmission Array now and wait. Death diary. Ah, thank you, Auntie. Flowers in bloom, Auntie. Now I don't want to send it. Death diary. Sorry, Sister Fugui. Flowers in bloom, go ahead. Jiang Fan was secretly surprised. 100 spirit pill is a 5th grade spirit pill, and flowers in bloom just casually said she'd take one out. Moreover, the focus isn't on the spirit pill. It's that the other party can effortlessly use a top-grade crystal stone to activate a state-level teleportation array. This was how strong her resources were. Flowers in bloom really is a rich woman, and a top-grade rich woman at that. Among the 6 in the moon realm, except for Death Diary, Jiang Fan has yet to understand what it means. The rest had names that were not mistakenly picked at all. Seeing the matter resolved, he closed up the moon realm. Right at that moment, he had also reached the exit of the forbidden land. Before he could step out, he heard drunken words coming from outside. Chu Yun, tell me, am I amazing or what? Single-handedly, I've calculated the 6 demon path masters to the point where even their parents wouldn't recognize them. Ha ha ha. I admire myself. The old geezers in Taikang State always thought they were the best schemers, but turns out I'm the most skillful one. Zhang Qian's mouth twitched wildly, and she said, Great wine sacrifice, you're drunk. Stop talking. She quickly covered the mouth of the great wine sacrifice. The great wine sacrifice struggled free, staggering, muttering incoherently, What, you don't admire me? I'm so amazing, Zhang Qian awkwardly said. Of course I admire you. She cautiously looked around. The 6 demon path venerables glared at the great wine sacrifice, eyes spitting fire. Apparently, they had just encountered the drunken great wine sacrifice upon exiting. They had planned to communicate properly with Jiang Fan about the matter of control once he came out. Unexpectedly, out of the loose tongue of the great wine sacrifice, the truth about their recent predicament was revealed. Wu Yu Venerable was fuming on the spot. I was wondering why that dead tree wanted to control us. So it was you who colluded with it. Red Dust Venerable's charming face turned cold. You drunken fool. Come on, someone get me a dog. I'll set up a pure interspecies romance for her. The dignitary, whose divine ring had shattered, spouted flowery language generously, saliva flying everywhere. The other 3 venerables weren't to be outdone, warmly greeting the great wine sacrifice across 18 generations. Only then did the great wine sacrifice become slightly sober from all the scolding, and when she opened her eyes, she couldn't help but feel awkward. Oh, you are all here. What a coincidence. I was just drunk boasting. I don't have that much skill to calculate you guys, don't you agree? But the 6 demon path venerables didn't let it go, surrounding her with relentless spitting. The great wine sacrifice, unable to withstand the spit, said angrily, "Rebelling, are you? Bullying me because I can't lay hands on you, huh? Don't forget you've been controlled by the silver apricot tree. Be careful if I chant a spell, the seeds in your belly might germinate and burst you." Upon hearing this, the 6 demon path venerables scolded even harsher. Because someone had already intercepted her. She couldn't control their lives. The great wine sacrifice gritted her teeth, pushed away a demon path venerable, and snorted angrily. "Fine, I'll go find the silver apricot tree and get the pattern. The more fiercely you scold now, the more you'll regret it later." Saying this, still hazy from the alcohol, she staggered towards the bird's nest. Just as she entered, she ran straight into Jiang Fan. She raised her alcohol-tinged eyes to look at Jiang Fan and said, "Huh, who are you? How come there's someone else in the Forbidden Land?" Jiang Fan replied, "I am Jiang Fan. I've met the great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness state." The great wine sacrifice suddenly realized, "So, it's you." She forced herself to gather her composure, standing straight. As the great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness state, how could she lose face in front of an outsider? Actually don't think they're scolding me. It's the custom here in the great wilderness state, the more you like someone, the harsher the words. If they're polite to you, you should examine whether you're unappealing." "Got it." Jiang Fan rubbed his nose. I get it, got it all." The great wine sacrifice finally breathed a sigh of relief, finally muddling through. But just then, Wu Yu Venerable, Red Dust Venerable, and 4 other demon path venerables stepped forward together. They smiled warmly, fervently, and cupped hands in greeting. "We have been awaiting you, young master, for quite some time." Their voices thundered, reverberating in all directions. Jiang Fan turned his gaze to the now stiff-faced great wine sacrifice. "I suppose I'm not very welcome, am I?" Sacrifice turned blue and then red. Never in a million years did I think the demon venerables would treat Jiang Fan with such courtesy. This was awkward. She stammered, I need to pee." "Farewell." Jiang Fan was dumbfounded. Is this the legendary urine escape tactic? He shook his head. Stepping out of the bird's nest, he looked toward the 6 demon venerables. "You don't hit someone who's smiling at you," so Jiang Fan cupped his hands in salute. "Respectful seniors are too courteous. I understand your worries, but please rest assured. I will not use the seal recklessly to threaten you. You only need to heed the silver apricot tree's advice, keep the secret, and restrain your disciples from harming weaker beings here." A few of the venerables breathed a slight sigh of relief. They had been worried Jiang Fan would wantonly use his control over them. It seems, indeed, he's someone from Taikang State, different from the demon cultivators here in the great wilderness state. If it were them, they would have long treated the other party as a slave, extracting every bit of utility. People from Taikang State, call it civilization or call it pedantry. Letting go of advantages that come to you serves Taikang State right for having its luck drained dry. Who would have expected? Jiang Fan's tone shifted, saying, "Of course, if you voluntarily take care of my sect far away in Taikang State. I won't stop you. After all, it's your goodwill, I can't refuse your kindness." PFFF. The unexpected reversal made Wu Yu Venerable almost spit out old blood. Goodness! This has been the plan all along. He suddenly felt that the demon cultivators of the great wilderness state were too straightforward. They openly rob, earning a bad reputation. Unlike the cunning martial artists of Taikang State who steal your things and still keep their good names. He gritted his teeth and said, "Fine. I will visit Taikang State another day to convey my regards to your sect." The other 4, volunteered demon venerables responded with quiet resignation, their dissatisfaction barely concealed. Red Dust Venerable gave a flirtatious glance, teasingly said, "Young master, I'm very willing to pay my respects to you, oh." Jiang Fan gave her a sidelong glance. Couldn't stand that kind of pressure from a venerable. He smiled and cupped his hands to the other venerables, saying, "Ha, thank you all for your kindness. I await you all in Taikang State." A joke, it was rare to get control over several demon venerables. How could he not seize the opportunity to bleed them dry? He must extract some blood before letting go. Wu Yu Venerable forced a thin smile and took his leave. The other venerables followed suit, taking their leave one after another. "Godfather, I only regret not being your biological son." Under the terrifying aura of the 6 venerables, the silenced West Sea Crown Prince spoke reverently with awe. Who would dare believe that the little companion who leveled up and fought monsters together before is now someone who controls the life and death of 6 major demon powerhouses? He made up his mind. He would cling to Jiang Fan's thigh for life. Even if the Heavenly King himself came, he'd never let go. Jiang Fan shot him a glance, saying, Then you should be glad you're not my son. Otherwise, being so lustful, I'd have sent you for reincarnation long ago." "Exactly, exactly." Zhang Qian ran up beside Jiang Fan, face filled with admiration. "Jiang Sect Master, this guy's courage is all about lust. I saw him secretly flirting with Xiao He. To dare flirt with such a fierce woman, he's truly not afraid of being castrated." Jiang Fan snorted. "This guy has already been castrated twice. Hopefully, once married, he will settle down." "By the way, Commander Zhang, I have a question to ask." Jiang Fan cupped his hands and said. Zhang Qian, turning into a little fangirl, nodded repeatedly. "Yes, yes, Jiang Sect Master, please ask." Jiang Fan frowned and said, "Is your great wine sacrifice really that weak? Why then do the leaders of the 6 demon sects dare to offend her like this?" The 6 venerables surrounded the great wine sacrifice, scolding her thoroughly. "This kind of thing would never happen in Taikang State." Zhang Qian thoughtlessly replied, "That's not the case, although the great wine sacrifice appears drunk. Her powers are unfathomable. It's just that the situation in the Great Wilderness State is quite different from the other 8 states. In the Great Wilderness State, demonic qi is rampant, the cultivators are hot-tempered, and their killing intent is heavy. If, according to your Taikang State's laws, randomly killing innocents would have the Kinshin Bureau arrest and try them, I think most demon cultivators would fall foul of the law. Therefore, the laws of the Great Wilderness State are relatively relaxed. As long as they are not murderously inclined, the Kinshin Bureau will not intervene. And the 6 master demons are not bloodthirsty, so the law does not affect them. As the great wine sacrifice of the Kinshin Bureau, she can't act against them without reason. But with the sigil of the silver apricot tree, the great wine sacrifice can deter them by bypassing the law." Jiang Fan suddenly understood. It turns out all the great wine sacrifices in various states have constraints when acting. Being the official leader, every act and word represents the official stance. Therefore, they cannot casually handle an innocent venerable. They need a legitimate reason to act. This is also why the demon venerables of the Great Wilderness State do not fear the great wine sacrifice, because their laws are excessively lenient. The great wine sacrifice finds it hard to threaten them within the rules. After pondering for a long time, Jiang Fan frowned and said, "The law in the Great Wilderness State has significant issues. Fearing too many criminal demon cultivators, it relaxes laws to legitimize their crimes. It's no exaggeration to call this an upside-down way of doing things. Isn't this indirectly encouraging them to commit crimes, persecute the weak, and artificially create a world where the strong prey on the weak? Which fool got kicked by a mule to set up such laws? If Jiang Wuya came to the Great Wilderness State, he'd probably carry a sword and slaughter the demon cultivators clean." Zhang Qian was scared stiff, pointing upwards, not daring to utter a word. Only then did Jiang Fan understand it was set by an ancient saint when Central Earth was established. He glanced at the sky, stopping the topic. Pointing fingers at unknown ancient saints from the Great Wilderness State isn't a wise decision. Not all ancient saints would respond to offenses like the one from Taikang State with a light or heavy thunderbolt. "Yag! This pisses me off." Suddenly, a crazed scream erupted from the bird's nest, growing closer. "I got scolded at the front and you took the opportunity at the back. Outrageous!" The moment before, the voice was still in the bird's nest. The next instant, before Jiang Fan's eyes, the white-robed great wine sacrifice stormed up to him. A 30-year-old face, flushed with wine-red cheeks, was full of fury. Jiang Fan was secretly alarmed. Truly the great wine sacrifice, with unfathomable powers, he hadn't even felt the air flow stirring before the great wine sacrifice appeared before him out of thin air. However, he wasn't flustered. He stayed here on purpose. The issue of control had to be faced sooner or later with the great wine sacrifice. Better to resolve it near the Forbidden Land. If things went south, he could ask Brother Tree for help. "Great wine sacrifice, aren't you wrong here? Didn't you say that the customs of the Great Wilderness State are different? Being scolded means they like you. 6 demon venerables like you so much. Why are you feeling wronged now?" The boomerang came too quickly. It hit the great wine sacrifice's brain, making her head buzz and left her speechless for a long time. After a while, she finally snapped back to her senses and said, "Enough with the nonsense. Give me back my totem." What was in his hands, Jiang Fan couldn't let go. He said, "The silver apricot tree must have told the great wine sacrifice not to trouble me, right? Why do you bother with this?" No need to think. The silver apricot tree must have instructed the great wine sacrifice. Unfortunately, the great wine sacrifice was unwilling. You're from an outer state. What do you need their control for? I can't let you take them back to Taekang State. The great wine sacrifice expressed her concerns. With a great battle looming and all 6 top-grade venerates at stake, if they were coerced by Jiang Fan to Taekang State, she would be distraught. Jiang Fan shrugged and said, "If you insist on taking it back, then I'll have to reason with the silver apricot tree." Saying this, he took a step towards the forbidden land. The great wine sacrifice stomped her foot and grabbed Jiang Fan, saying, "Wait. Let's resolve this ourselves, no need to disturb the silver apricot tree." Her eyes moved, and she thought of an idea, saying, "How about we make a bet?" She took out an ice block with a little black snake faintly frozen inside. Jiang Fan recognized it at a glance, his pupils contracting sharply. He whispered, "A dark night black snake from the heavenly realm?" He had relied on this snake's venom to poison the injured space giant king. Back then, he had hoped to obtain more dark night black snakes from the heavenly realm. Sadly, people from Black Cloud Village said the dark night black snakes had been mostly wiped out by ancient giants, with few mature ones remaining. Now the great wine sacrifice of Great Wilderness State had brought one out. The great wine sacrifice smiled brilliantly. No wonder someone who has encountered a dark night black snake would recognize it instantly. "Since you know it, there's no need for me to elaborate on its value, right?" Jiang Fan was tempted. With this snake's venom, he would have another chance to poison a giant king. For Taekang State, which severely lacked venerates, it was a great killing device. But quickly, Jiang Fan became suspicious. "Isn't it dead? Encased in ice like this, can a dark night black snake still survive? If it had just died recently, perhaps the venom would still be effective. If too much time had passed, the venom would have lost its effect." The great wine sacrifice's eyes flashed with a clever gleam. "Of course it's alive. Would I, a great wine sacrifice, deceive you?" She pointed at the ice block with her finger, and the dark night black snake weakly struggled a bit. It was indeed alive. Jiang Fan was completely at ease, pondering again, what does the great wine sacrifice want to bet on? If it's about testing strength or something, then never mind. The great wine sacrifice rolled her eyes at him. "What do you take me for? Do you think bullying juniors is something I would do?" Jiang Fan was full of suspicion. The one who tricked the 6 demon path venerates into the forbidden land, could they be a good person? "First, say how you want to bet." The great wine sacrifice cheerfully took out 2 jars of wine and said, "Let's compete in drinking. You're a big man, surely you can't lose to a woman like me, right? Don't let me look down on you, oh." He knew her belly was full of tricks. A wine-loving junkie like her, how could he possibly outdrink her? She was even trying to provoke him. Jiang Fan wouldn't fall for that. He was about to refuse, but suddenly a thought occurred to him. He secretly moved his eyes and said, "Since you are bringing up the aspect of being a man or not, as a 7-foot man, how can I back down? Fine. Let's compete in drinking." The great wine sacrifice was overjoyed. "Ha, little fool. Despite playing with the giant kings in the heavenly realm, in the end, you still fall into my hands. Compete with me in drinking. If I'm second, who dares claim first in Central Earth?" She tried hard to hold back her laughter, giving 2 jars of wine to the 2 of them with a straight face and said, "The one who gets drunk first loses. If you lose, admit defeat and hand over the control to me. Conversely, I will give you the dark night black snake." Jiang Fan took the jar of wine, saying, "No problem." He paused, then took out a rusty heart-shaped copper lock and handed it to the great wine sacrifice. "Is this a top-grade spiritual artifact? You're giving it to me?" The great wine sacrifice was surprised, uncertain about Jiang Fan's intentions. Jiang Fan showed an embarrassed look, saying, "Anyway, the control that the senior painstakingly achieved was taken by me. I feel guilty about it. This copper lock, which I acquired accidentally, is not something I can make use of. I give it to the senior as a little compensation. I also hope that, considering the copper lock, if the senior loses later, please accept defeat and don't dwell on it." Could there really be such a good thing? The great wine sacrifice wasn't foolish. In the Great Wilderness State, if you don't seize the opportunity, you'll be called a little fool. She received it with happiness and fondness, saying, "Then I won't stand on ceremony." Jiang Fan sincerely said, "It is my honor that the senior likes it. I've always had respect for Kinshin Bureau and the Great Wine Sacrifice. It's because of your protection that the 9 states have enjoyed a millennium of peace." These words even made the thick-skinned Great Wine Sacrifice a little embarrassed. Thinking to herself, Jiang Fan is really a good person. Later, I won't let him lose too badly. She chuckled. "You're too kind. Let's start the competition first." She tucked the heart-shaped copper lock into her sleeve, planning to study this top-grade spiritual artifact's mysterious use after winning back control. Seeing her accept it and put it in her sleeve, Jiang Fan finally let go of his heart. This copper lock was the defensive magical treasure given to him by Venerate Zinni. It's called the Luck Transfer Lock. When placed on a strong person, any harm received would be transferred to the strong person. The intoxication caused by drinking is also a form of physical harm. So while Jiang Fan was the one drinking, the one who would get drunk would be the great wine sacrifice. "All right, let's begin," Jiang Fan said, uncorking the wine gourd and taking a big gulp. The great wine sacrifice was startled. "Wait, you can't drink like that. This is my strongest wine, even I dare not drink like that." Jiang Fan smiled. "That's just right." He paused for a moment and said, "Please, great wine sacrifice, I drink first to give respect." Gulp, gulp, gulp. Seeing Jiang Fan gulp down large amounts, the great wine sacrifice gritted her teeth. "Can I really lose to you?" She then picked up the gourd and started pouring it down her throat. As the strong wine hit Jiang Fan's stomach, he felt as if his abdomen was on fire, extremely uncomfortable. The intense intoxication quickly surged to the divine platform. Just as his mind began to cloud, a mysterious force suddenly purged all the drunkenness, instantly clearing his head. The burning sensation in his stomach also vanished into thin air. In contrast, the great wine sacrifice drank for a moment and suddenly felt dizzy, causing her to stop. Murmuring, "What's going on? I've only had a few sips and I'm already dizzy. Why is today's wine especially intoxicating?" She turned her head to look at Jiang Fan again, who was still drinking in big gulps as if nothing had happened. This made her, for the first time, doubt her own drinking capacity. "Bluffing, I don't believe anyone can outdrink me." She immediately started chugging with a gurgling sound. Halfway through the bottle, she staggered and nearly fell. Fortunately, Zhang Qian rushed over to support her and said worriedly, "Great wine sacrifice, stop drinking." Feeling woozy, she looked over at Jiang Fan, eyes wide in disbelief to see that Jiang Fan had already finished a bottle. He shook the empty bottle and said nonchalantly, "It's not that strong. It's much like drinking rice wine." "Great wine sacrifice, why haven't you finished yet?" The great wine sacrifice looked at Jiang Fan's wine gourd, then at her own, suspecting Jiang Fan might be drinking water. But the wine was picked by her, how could it be wrong? Zhang Qian looked at Jiang Fan with gleaming eyes, amazed by his extraordinary talent, even drinking better than the great wine sacrifice. Then she glanced at her own great wine sacrifice and disdainfully said, "Great wine sacrifice, just admit defeat. You don't look like you can drink anymore." The great wine sacrifice flared up. "You traitor! Who said I can't drink?" She finished off the half bottle in one go. With that, she had consumed 2 whole pots of strong liquor. Woozy already, she couldn't hold it any longer, staggered and fell to the ground. Drunkenly mumbling, "I'm not drunk. Help me up. I can still fight for 800 more rounds." Jiang Fan stepped forward and patted her back, chuckling softly. "Great wine sacrifice, I've won." The great wine sacrifice wiped the wine dribble from her lips, feeling unwell in her stomach and heart. She whimpered pitifully, "Someone can drink more than me. What use is living, might as well be dead." Jiang Fan reached out his hand. "Before you die, a bet's a bet. Hand over the item first." Reluctantly, the great wine sacrifice took out the ice block and angrily shoved it into Jiang Fan's hand. "Kid, you're ruthless, but don't get smug. This ice block won't melt so easily." Jiang Fan felt a twinge in his heart. A bad premonition surged inside him as he quickly took the ice block and burned it with the netherworld ghost fire. This fire was difficult to withstand below the 7-orifice nascent soul level. However, the ice block remained unmoved, with no sign of melting. His expression darkened. The ice before him seemed peculiar indeed. The great wine sacrifice laughed triumphantly. "Didn't you think, if the dark night black snake was easy to retrieve? Wouldn't I have done so long ago? Why leave it frozen inside?" This snake was found by our scouts in a mysterious icy pool in the heavenly realm, where the cold was so intense it nearly froze a venerate to death. Though you're adept in the way of fire, unfortunately, you're far from melting it. The investigation team from the great wilderness state, though it didn't delve as deeply into the tribes as Jiang Fan did, still wasn't completely unproductive. Yet with the dark night black snake they obtained, they were at a loss. For this reason, the great wine sacrifice was generous to bring it out for a bet. A win was good, but a loss wasn't a deficit. Jiang Fan glared at her. "You sly woman!" The great wine sacrifice, still exuding alcohol, giggled. "All's fair in trickery." Keeping his face steady, Jiang Fan evoked the fire origin in his heart. The great wine sacrifice's smile faded as she rubbed her eyes. You monster, aren't you in the nascent soul realm? How have you grasped the origin? Jiang Fan ignored her, pressing the fire origin against the ice block. With a sizzling sound, the ice block melted into a sesame-sized pit, still difficult to dissolve. Seeing this, the great wine sacrifice's heart relaxed again, revealing a contented smile. Luckily, your origin isn't enough, or else I'd be spitting blood from anger. Unable to extract the Dark Knight Black Snake herself, if an outer state junior managed it, she'd surely be furious. Jiang Fan frowned deeply. The ice block before him indeed wasn't something his power could handle. But looking at the Dark Knight Black Snake inside, he was unwilling to give up. What method could melt the ice block? He closed his eyes, pondering, his mind racing through the spiritual artifacts he possessed. Suddenly, his eyes shot open, quickly drawing out the heaven-slaying furnace and the Tinksu sword inside. An expectation gleamed in his eyes. This top-grade spiritual artifact, the heaven-slaying furnace, he had never used its ability. Because Bai Luo mentioned, her master only showcased one purpose for the heaven-slaying furnace, and that was boiling water. Indeed. At that time, both Jiang Fan and the Six-Path Masters were stunned. A top-grade spiritual artifact could only boil water. It was beyond imagination. So much so that Jiang Fan once thought, aside from spewing lava, the heaven-slaying furnace was merely a small fog machine. Now he began to suspect what water Bai Luo's master was really boiling. Perhaps it wasn't ordinary water. Top-grade spiritual artifacts? 2 of them. The great wine sacrifice's eyes bulged as her drunkenness immediately cleared by a third. She looked covetous. That furnace could fetch a lot of wine, couldn't it? Damn my fate as a great wine sacrifice, can't handle matters like a demon cultivator stealing treasures. Ah, heaven damn the Kinshin Bureau, you've ruined me. Jiang Fan's forehead broke out in a cold sweat. Didn't see that coming, this one's greedy for treasures too. He held the Tinksu sword, yanking it out forcefully. Taking advantage of the heaven-slaying furnace's momentary lack of response, he quickly pressed the ice block to the furnace mouth. Thus, the lava sprayed forth, all targeting the base of the ice block. Though the lava's temperature wasn't higher than the fire origins, it far surpassed its quantity by 1,000 times. Under the continuous onslaught of blue lava, the ice block, harder than top minerals, finally began to shudder aggressively. A thick mist of water vapor billowed out, forming dense white fog. Jiang Fan watched the ice block intently. As it melted away, almost revealing the Dark Knight Black Snake, he decisively withdrew, letting the leftover warmth melt the final thin ice layer. Otherwise, the Dark Knight Black Snake wouldn't withstand the blue lava. It would instantly char into ash. The long-dormant, heaven-slaying furnace continued to erupt streams of concentrated lava essence. Jiang Fan swiftly plunged the Tinksu sword back inside. The heaven-slaying furnace shuddered slightly, then gradually settled down. Once he'd neatly packed away the 2 treasures, he looked at the ice block, successfully extracting the Dark Knight Black Snake through the thawed cavities. At this point, it had been frozen for who knows how long on the brink of death, completely powerless to resist. Therefore, Jiang Fan effortlessly squeezed out its poison. Haha, the killing device against the giant king is in the bag. Thank you, great wine sacrifice. You're truly a good person, not using it yourself, leaving it to us in Taikang State. I thank you on behalf of all living beings in Taikang State. Jiang Fan couldn't help but let out a satisfied laugh. The great wine sacrifice felt dizzy, her chest heaving violently. He really managed to get it out, this little rascal. However, it wasn't over. Just as Jiang Fan extracted the snake venom, thinking the Dark Knight Black Snake was no longer useful, the snake's belly suddenly twitched. At the base of its tail, near the anus, a snow-white snake egg about the size of a quail egg rolled out. Then a second, a third, and a fourth followed. 4 snake eggs sticking together. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment, then exclaimed in delight, it's ... it's pregnant. If they are raised to maturity, can we get 4 more portions of venom? No, if they include both genders. Taikang State could continuously breed Dark Knight Black Snakes. Theoretically, if there's enough snake venom, any number of ancient giants could be killed. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. An unintended gamble had brought Taikang State a huge opportunity. Thinking of this, he excitedly grabbed Great Wine Sacrifice's hand. Great Wine Sacrifice, you are the benefactor of Taikang State. Thank you so much. Already feeling dizzy with anger, Great Wine Sacrifice saw that Jiang Fan had obtained a few snake eggs and even devised a grand breeding plan. Instantly furious, she glared at Jiang Fan. You! Already intoxicated and angry to the extreme. Before she finished speaking, her eyes rolled back and she fainted to the ground. Jiang Fan then realized that he had emotionally overstimulated her. He coughed awkwardly and handed Great Wine Sacrifice to Zhang Qian. Take her back to recuperate well. With that said, he rummaged through Great Wine Sacrifice's sleeve and retrieved the luck transfer lock, muttered, if you had put it in a space storage device, I would have had no chance. Luckily, you put it in your sleeve, so I'm not harming you. Zhang Qian was puzzled. Jiang Sect Master, what is this? Jiang Fan waved the luck transfer lock. This. The secret to winning against Great Wine Sacrifice. When she wakes up, tell her the truth, she is still the best drinker in Central Earth. Zhang Qian's lips twitched slightly. It's better not to say anything. Knowing the truth, she'll cause upheaval in Great Wilderness State. The self-proclaimed clever Great Wine Sacrifice, unable to trick Jiang Fan, got tricked by him instead. It's no wonder she's not driven mad. Jiang Fan nodded. After some thought, he took out a crystal disc, which was the heart crystal. Bai Luo had used it to find his heart fire path. Heart crystal, Zhang Qian was shocked. Isn't this the exclusive divine artifact of Great Wilderness State's Great Wine Sacrifice? We've borrowed it for years and they never agreed. How did you get it? Jiang Fan handed them the heart crystal, a chance meeting. You both can seek your own path. Hearing this, Zhang Qian and Lin Danking were overjoyed. This is an opportunity money can't buy. The two immediately reflected on themselves on the spot, seeking their own path. Not long after, a faint realization appeared in Lin Danking's eyes, as if he found a suitable path, his face showing uncontrollable joy. Zhang Qian, on the other hand, furrowed her brows, clearly dissatisfied with the reflection of her path. However, if she couldn't find a better path in the future, she could settle for the reflection and follow it. Jiang Fan took back the heart crystal and said, it seems both of you have gained something. I wish you both soon embark on your path and achieve divinity transformation. Lin Danking and Zhang Qian quickly bowed in thanks. Both of their faces showed deep relief. Meeting Jiang Fan was truly their great fortune. Jiang Fan said, then I take my leave. He glanced around, noticing ice blocks and dark night black snake yet to be dealt with. The latter had died after laying eggs and was of no more value. As for the ice block, Jiang Fan's gaze shifted, picking up the ice block again. He found that the melted opening was slowly healing under the ice block's cold aura. He then stuffed the luck transfer lock back inside. With this ice block sealing it, once the luck transfer lock was on someone else, he didn't have to worry about them removing Jiang Fan's seal, turning it into someone else's possession. Moreover, without being able to access the luck transfer lock, others wouldn't figure out its use. They would just think they found a top-grade spiritual artifact and proudly carry it around. He couldn't help but smile slightly. I wonder who will be the next unlucky one, after tidying up everything. He took the West Sea Crown Prince towards the 10,000 Demon Cave. Only through their transmission array could they directly reach the Forbidden Demon Palace. During their journey, near the connecting sky-black pillar, a spatial tremor occurred. A large amount of fresh blood suddenly rained from the sky. Then venerable Jing fell to the ground with a thud. Her body was covered in blood, with 4 bloody holes continuously bleeding. Fortunately, after leaving the Forbidden Land, the origin power of the silver apricot tree weakened considerably, and the bloody holes were slowly healing. Her pale face, lacking blood, leaned weakly against the mountain gate, sitting down. After swallowing a handful of healing spirit pills, she laid her sawtooth sword across her knees, quietly meditating. Feeling the pain on her body, traces of agony appeared on her brow. Unable to suppress her anger, little liar, you ruined my great plan, I won't forgive you. If it weren't for Jiang Fan, how would she have ended up in such a state? How would her plan fail so close to completion? Once I recover, I'll find you immediately. Jiang Fan had her bestowed thunderbolt, and finding him by aura wouldn't be difficult. She endured the pain, continuing to meditate, but seemed to remember something and sighed softly. My days are numbered. I must find a way to gain enough merit for Fenger. He has sacrificed too much for this day. I ought to do something for him. After a tea break, in the transmission hall of the Forbidden Demon Palace, just as Jiang Fan landed, a fierce wind hit him. Without thinking, he summoned the yin corpse of the Fog Giant King to block in front. Clang. A muffled sound of a long blade cutting into flesh resounded. Jiang Fan saw clearly. Inside the transmission hall, a chaotic battle was taking place. One side, wearing purple garments, seemed to be the attacked forbidden demon palace. Of course, the other side was the opportunistic white bone demon cave. Since the fight reached the transmission hall, it seemed that the forbidden demon palace was retreating steadily, attempting to escape using the transmission array, only to be pursued by white bone demon cave, unable to break free. The one attacking them was a sixth-stage nascent soul from the white bone demon cave. He held a dark, pitch-black demon blade, looking slightly terrified at the enormous body of the fog giant king. Even though they were fierce demon cultivators, they were still terrified upon seeing the towering giant king for the first time. Jiang Fan looked at the corpses scattered all over the ground. Two of them were at nascent soul middle stage, which made him ache with regret. These were the backbone forces against the ancient giants. Yet they didn't die on the battlefield but perished in their mutual slaughter. He originally didn't want to interfere with their affairs, but witnessing such a waste of manpower in great wilderness state made him uncontrollably angry. "Stop, all of you!" The sixth-stage nascent soul demon cultivator holding the demon blade snapped out of it, sized up Jiang Fan's cultivation, and greedily eyed him. "Your ancient giant is nice, I'll take it." Jiang Fan's gaze turned cold. Talking with demon cultivators seemed useless. If that was the case, then kill them until they are afraid. Fan said coldly. The incomparably enormous fog giant king suddenly moved, kicking out. The force was immense, causing the atmosphere to erupt with a sharp cracking sound. The space fluctuated up and down, seemingly about to tear apart. The greedy sixth-stage nascent soul demon cultivator's expression changed drastically, fortunately having his guard up early. He spat out a mouthful of blood mist, and under its shroud, he collapsed on the spot. It had to be said that demon cultivators often engaged in combat and had long mastered life-saving techniques far superior to the other 8 states. However, he underestimated the giant king's kick. The sixth-stage nascent soul demon cultivator had just performed instantaneous movement to a distant place. He barely had a chance to catch his breath before the residual force of the kick traversed the sky and struck him. With a poof sound, he was crushed into mincemeat on the spot. His soul jolted out in terror, fleeing into the void. Jiang Fan would not let him escape. A soul-capturing lock seized him back. In the blink of an eye, a sixth-stage nascent soul great demon cultivator was crushed on the spot. The demon martial artists on both sides were all frightened, ceasing their actions one after another. They stared at Jiang Fan and his giant king corpse with trepidation. When dealing with demon cultivators, fists are indeed more effective than words. Jiang Fan thought to himself. He then glared towards the white bone demon sect, reprimanding. "A bunch of bullies in their own nest. You love to rob so much, why don't you go to the heavenly realm to rob the ancient giants? Is the connecting sky-black pillar covered, or is someone stopping you from going up?" Several demon cultivators nearby were sprayed with saliva. Demon cultivators had always been rebellious. One of them, with cultivation also reaching the sixth-stage nascent soul, retorted discontentedly. "Aren't you just moving your lips too? If you have the ability, why don't you go up? What's it to us?" "Heh," the West Sea Crown Prince laughed. Wasn't it time for his adopted son to perform again? He proudly walked up to Jiang Fan, saying, "A bunch of fools who can't recognize greatness. Do you know who is standing in front of you? The #1 prodigy of Taikang State. Jiang Fan, you ask what he's worth. Then let me tell you, he single-handedly charged into the southern heavenly realm and took the head of the space giant king amidst thousands of troops. In front of the 5-star giant king, he whisked away the #1 beauty of the southern heavenly realm. What you in the great wilderness state can achieve, he disdains to do. What you can't, he does effortlessly. This is my adoptive father, Jiang Fan, the supreme youth of the central Earth 9 provinces. Damn, Jiang Fan felt awkward enough to curl his toes. Is he bragging so hard? The sixth-stage nascent soul demon cultivator laughed disdainfully. You folks from Taikang State, if nothing else, are #1 in bragging. Killing the giant king and stealing the #1 beauty, huh? The West Sea Crown Prince was unperturbed. It was as if he was long waiting for this statement, leisurely taking out a small piece of crystal and flicking it lightly. Several scenes popped out. He hadn't idled away his time in the Kinshin Bureau for days. He flirted with a few pretty Kinshin Bureau girls and got several stealth-captured images of Jiang Fan from them. All are Jiang Fan's glorious moments in the heavenly realm. The most striking was the 5-star giant king, stepping on an ancient fierce beast, suspended above the heavens, gazing down upon the earth with a breathtaking aura. The domineering aura of extinction emanating through the projection made them all tremble in fear. The West Sea Crown Prince withdrew the projection, unhurriedly saying, "Now say it again. Does my adoptive father have the qualifications to educate you?" Gulp. The demon cultivators' gaze towards Jiang Fan changed dramatically. The youth before them had indeed ventured into the heavenly realm and returned facing off against the five-star giant king alone. Demon cultivators worship the law of the jungle, which means they worship the strong. The sixth-stage nascent soul of the white-bone demon cave said with a face full of admiration, "A word from Senior Jiang is worth 10 years of battles. Please accept my bow." The other demon cultivators also looked full of excitement. "Please accept my bow. Please accept my bow." The entire hall, more than 100 demon cultivators or so, their uneven shouts even created a somewhat heart-stirring atmosphere. Jiang Fan was thrown off. For the first time, facing so much adoration, he was a bit embarrassed. This group of demon cultivators, they might still be salvageable. The sixth-stage nascent soul demon cultivator, full of excitement, shouted, "Fellow practitioners of the Great Wilderness State, Senior Jiang is right. What's petty robbing in the Great Wilderness State count for? We must ascend to the heavenly realm." Jiang Fan smiled. They can be taught. It's worth the effort to guide them. But the next moment, Jiang Fan's expression stiffened. "We must learn from Senior Jiang. Rise to the heavenly realm and bed the most beautiful woman there." Jiang Fan's eyes popped wide open. "I told you to kill enemies who taught you to bed women. There's no saving them. This group of demon cultivators is hopeless, with nothing in their heads but fighting and seizing women," he said with a dark face. "As you please." With a flick of his sleeve, he left the hall. But the demon cultivators were full of excitement, saying, "Senior Jiang has traveled tirelessly to our great wilderness state. He must be here to do great deeds. Fellow practitioners, follow Senior Jiang together. Let's see the world together." Outside the hall, there were also demon cultivators fighting everywhere. But before Jiang Fan could stop them, the demon cultivators who followed him out persuaded the fighters forward. "What's the point in continuing the fight? Follow me from the white-bone demon sect. What's up, Senior Sister Chen? Did you see the young man in black at the front? Yeah, he looks fair and handsome. Senior Sister, are you asking me to capture him for you as your 36th husband for the fortress? Senior Sister has a good eye, only eating fine bran." "Eat what?" "That Senior Jiang single-handedly ascended to the heavenly realm and took the heads of 10 giant kings from amidst thousands of troops. Inform our white-bone demon sect brothers to stop fighting and follow Senior Jiang to see the world." Not long after. Stop fighting, follow Senior Jiang to see the world." "Who's Senior Jiang?" "Don't you know Senior Jiang? He exterminated thousands of troops in the heavenly realm and killed 20 giant kings." Not much later. "Have you heard? Senior Jiang killed 30 giant kings." "I heard it was 40. When Jiang Fan arrived at the gates of the Forbidden Demon Palace, appearing in front of the connecting sky-black pillar, a dense throng of demon cultivators had already followed in the shadows. Each had demonic chi surging, gathering together. The demonic chi was billowing, making the scene truly spectacular. It could be seen from dozens of miles away. Jiang Fan was somewhat speechless, yet he couldn't be bothered to manage them. With the white-bone demon sect and the Forbidden Demon Palace's 2 venerated ones fighting to the death somewhere unknown, he might as well take the connecting sky-black pillar and leave quickly. If the matter with the Forbidden Land is delayed, he will completely miss the appointment with the 4-crowned Usura King. If the other party mistakenly thinks he broke the appointment, he'll have to make a trip to the heavenly realm. He took out the golden bowl, checked the location of the 4-crowned Usura King's camp, then grabbed the connecting sky-black pillar soaring into the sky. Senior Jiang moved the connecting sky-black pillar. Unbelievable, the connecting sky-black pillar can actually be moved. Truly worthy of Senior Jiang, who killed 100 giant kings, simply divine. The demon cultivators let out a mountain-shaking roar of amazement. Not far from the Forbidden Demon Palace, venerable Jing, leaning against the wall and meditating silently, raised an eyebrow slightly, gradually opening her eyes. Have these demon cultivators taken the wrong medicine? They've been shouting incessantly since just now. Lady Venerable, she couldn't help but turn her head, looking towards the source of the commotion. She was so startled that she jumped up, causing the sawtooth sword resting on her knees to fall to the ground without her noticing. Her phoenix eyes widened in shock. "The connecting sky-black pillar has moved. Wait, could it be that legendary person from Taikang State is here?" Venerable Jing quickly collected her thoughts. In the central Earth 9 provinces, only that one person could move the connecting sky-black pillar. She was very curious about this legendary youth. It is said that the performance of this youth in the heavenly realm garnered endless praise from the venerates who visited Taikang State. Facing the 5-star giant king alone, forming alliances with the Asura clan, and successfully escaping from the siege by numerous giant kings. Such feats are textbook-level and awe-inspiring. Some venerates recorded images, bringing them back for their juniors to watch and learn from his responses to crises. Some venerates even required their juniors to write 10,000-word reflections after watching. Not a word could be missed. Not long ago, she heard that rascal describe him. He said this person was handsome, brilliant, charming, highly skilled, and loved by everyone. She became even more curious. She really wanted to see who this renowned young man was. In terms of fame, he's almost catching up to her son. Thinking of this, she disregarded her unhealed injuries, picked up her sawtooth sword, and set out in pursuit. Just as she got closer, she heard the demon cultivators whispering. Senior Jiang, though young, possesses great bearing. At first meeting, he stopped the dispute between our two sides, saying we must unite against the ancient giants and prioritize the bigger picture. Indeed, he said if we must fight, we should do it in the heavenly realm against the ancient giants. Compared to him, I seem like an ignorant young brat. Venerable Xianxia was slightly surprised. She knew the Forbidden Demon Palace and White Bone Demon Cave people were fighting as she was healing nearby. But she was unwilling to interfere. Unexpectedly, Jiang Fan could see the injustice and speak about the greater good. This made her feel a bit guilty. He's really a good kid. Warmth flashed in Venerable Xianxia's eyes as she couldn't help but compare Jiang Fan. Both are from Taikang State and both are youths. One bravely ventures deep into the heavenly realm, smart and courageous, shouldering the mission of Central Earth. One tells lies effortlessly, deceiving without consequence, a little trickster. How could there be such a difference between the two? It's true what they say, one kind of grain nourishes all kinds of people. She shook her head, said, I don't want to think about that annoying little thing. Better to chat with this sunny youth from Taikang State. If I find him agreeable, maybe I'll give him a gift of fortune. With that thought, she flashed and appeared in front of the moving, connecting sky-black pillar. With a gentle smile, she looked at the youth embracing the connecting sky-black pillar and said, Young man, please stop. At this moment, the connecting sky-black pillar had grown much bigger than before. From Venerable Xianxia's angle, Jiang Fan's front was perfectly blocked, only his two arms were visible. Jiang Fan suddenly stopped. This voice with Venerable Xianxia couldn't be said to be very similar. It was exactly the same. His heart skipped a beat. No, isn't Great Wilderness State said to be just palm-sized? How could he encounter her? In broad daylight, the probability of running into a ghost is higher than running into her, right? Seeing Jiang Fan not responding, Venerable Xianxia's smile became even gentler. Don't be afraid, I mean no harm. I just want to meet you. But I don't want to meet you, Jiang Fan shouted in his heart. He was secretly anxious. He couldn't let this woman recognize him. After pondering for a moment, his eyes lit up as he took out a bit of mysterious demon liquid. Under the control of the small tree graphic pattern given by the silver apricot tree, the mysterious demon liquid covered his face. Only his facial features were exposed. It looked like a mask. The mysterious demon liquid has a strong, isolating effect. When Venerable Xianxia entered the Forbidden Land, she couldn't even discern directions, proving its effectiveness. May I ask who you are, sister? Jiang Fan revealed a dark face. Sister, Venerable Xianxia smiled warmly. Sweet little mouth, but better call me aunt or venerate is fine. Sweet talk may not always work, but at least it won't be annoying. Jiang Fan said, Lady Venerable, do you need me for something? Venerable Xianxia said, I am Venerable Xianxia from Heavenly State. What's your name? Jiang Fan glanced at the numerous demon cultivators behind him. All thanks to the West Sea Crown Prince, who greatly exaggerated his name. Otherwise, he could have used Wang Chengxiu again. Jiang Fan. Named Jiang Fan, yet the deeds are extraordinary. Venerable Xianxia chuckled softly, began to take a closer look at Jiang Fan, and was slightly surprised upon noticing the mysterious demon liquid on his face. What's wrong with your face? Jiang Fan feigned mystery and said, Concealing my identity. Venerable Xianxia pondered for a moment, then realized. A person who can move the connecting sky-black pillar would certainly become a thorn in the heavenly realm's side. They might send someone to kill Jiang Fan. Concealing his appearance is a prudent move. No wonder you can charge into the heavenly realm, just your caution is worth learning for your peers. She herself was considering recording Jiang Fan's actions in the heavenly realm, bringing them back for the juniors in heavenly state to observe. After watching, they should write a 10,000-word commentary. Seeing he had evaded suspicion, Jiang Fan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Foolish woman, I'm wary because of you." He smiled and said, "Lady Venerable, you flatter me. I am in a hurry now. Do you have any instructions?" Venerable Jing wanted to chat with Jiang Fan, but since he was in a hurry, they could only talk while moving. She looked up at the connecting sky-black pillar and asked, "With the great wilderness states connecting sky-black pillar, where are you headed?" Jiang Fan said, "To form an alliance with the Asura clan." Venerable Jing was surprised. She had heard that Jiang Fan was to form an alliance with the Asura clan, essentially a union to resist the ancient giants. Unexpectedly, she happened upon this event. She was curious about what the remaining Asura clan in the heavenly realm was like and how strong they were. Immediately interested, she said, "May I join you and take a look?" Could Jiang Fan refuse? With a bunch of demon cultivators following, he hadn't driven them away. If he drove her away, wouldn't that immediately raise her suspicions? With no options, he could only reluctantly agree. "All right, Lady Venerable, being willing to accompany me is my honor. Let's set off. We are already late." The demon cultivators behind were trembling with fear. Watching Venerable Jing, their eyes were full of reverence. The 4 flame marks on her divine ring were symbolic, and they knew what it meant. In the entire great wilderness state, apart from the great wine sacrifice, no one was her match. Yet such a being, second only to human supreme, was so cordial with Jiang Fan. The demon cultivators whispered among themselves, "Did you all see that? Did you all learn from it? What do we do when faced with a formidable woman we can't handle? 2 words, sweet talk. Senior Jiang's Lady Venerable is enough for us demon cultivators in the great wilderness state to learn for 10 years. Senior Jiang is truly a model for our demon cultivators. What a pity he doesn't join the demon sect." As the demon cultivators conversed amongst themselves, they continually shared the explosive news of the cross-realm marriage with their familiar demon cultivator friends from various sects. Thus, as they moved forward, the crowd of demon cultivators gathering to watch grew increasingly larger. Several 2-hour periods later, the crowd was a dense mass of people beyond estimation. Even if it wasn't half of the great wilderness state's demon cultivators, it was at least a good 20 to 30%. Southern heavenly realm. A giant ancient fountain spewed a milk-white water column 1,000 feet high. The spray of water spread in all directions, dissipating into sparkling droplets in the wind, forming an inverted hemisphere of light. It emitted a sacred glow, the most feared object by the ancient giants, especially those transformed from the Asura clan. Touching it would cause them to revert to the Asura clan. Its effect was very similar to that of the Saint Crystal, and under the great sacred light dome, a bustling Asura city came into view. Compared to the Black Cloud village, the Asura city before them was hundreds of times larger. The city's civilization was prosperous, rivaling even the human clan cities in Central Earth. In the southern heavenly realm, where the Asura clan had become captive prey, this city was akin to a holy land. In the city's center, a delicate courtyard was nestled amidst the bustling market. A gentle stream flowed around a rockery, carrying several beautifully chasing little fish. A few plants filled with a quiet floral fragrance bloomed silently. Under a pine tree, a girl in a black long dress with a graceful figure sat at a stone table. She wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, her expression calm. The wind blew, lightly lifting her black hair, revealing a stunning side profile. The few sheets of paper in her hand also lightly flipped in the breeze. One of them, written in Hell language, read, "A secret move of an ancient giant unit from the central tribe. Destination unknown." At this point, her elegant eyebrows slightly furrowed as she quietly pondered. The Central Tribe is facing the strongest of Central State in Central Earth, the toughest nut to crack. Every soldier is invaluable. Why did they suddenly move a unit? Who are they coming for? After many possibilities flashed through her mind, her brows furrowed even tighter, because she realized that there were 2 most likely targets, one of which might be their village. Our village has never been breached, giving rise to many Asura kings who even the giant king perceives as threats. It's long been a thorn in the side of the ancient giants. Now, with less than half a month until the Heavenly Realm's centennial grand hunt, it's very possible they are moving an army to join local tribes in attacking our village. She paused, then shifted her tone. But it might not be aiming for us. It could be heading for Taikang State instead. Jiang Fan destroyed the ancient sky pit, plundered the Black Sun Royal Court's arsenal, weakening the Black Sun Royal Court's power. Reinforcing the Black Sun Royal Court is also a strong possibility. She set down the paper and adjusted her glasses, sighing slightly. But whoever they are coming for, it's not good news. As she was contemplating, noisy voices came from outside the door. Fairy Xianxia, the young lady is busy with affairs and cannot be disturbed. You wretch, are you treating me as an outsider? No, I wouldn't dare, but the young lady doesn't like to be disturbed. Please don't make it difficult for me. I am from Shudao Mountain. The black-dressed girl shook her head and spoke softly. Let her in. Then a charming girl in a bright red long dress stormed in front of her, clutching her skirt. Her figure wasn't particularly tall, but well-shaped and voluptuous. A pointed chin, round eyes, and lips unnaturally reddish without any lipstick. Peeking from her hair were a pair of round little horns. A quite attractive Usura girl with a fiery temper. Even facing an Usura king with 4 crowns of cultivation, she didn't back down. Slapping the table angrily, she said, "He's messing around, late for the first meeting. What kind of cross-realm marriage is this?" The black-dressed girl looked at her and said, "Speak properly." Xianxia put her hands on her hips, disgruntledly adjusting her tone. "I'm worried for you. Cross-realm marriage is unprecedented. The whole village is paying attention, and if something goes wrong, people will laugh at you." In fact, the voices of doubt had already spread throughout the city. Taikang's state of Central Earth, in terms of top-notch experts, is actually inferior to their village. The marriage is essentially marrying down. They are the losing side. The young lady, however, insisted on the marriage despite opposition, causing dissatisfaction among many. Now, if Central Earth defaults, the young lady would be placed in an awkward position. The black-dressed girl said calmly, "Calm down. It's a win-win situation. Taikang State's leadership has no reason to refuse." Moreover, she adjusted her glasses and said, "Even if the leadership refuses, I believe Jiang Fan will still come to fulfill the agreement." Although their interaction was brief, she could see some of Jiang Fan's ways. He does what he believes is right, eliminating all distractions, persistently pursuing it. In this regard, he is the same as her. Xianxia pouted. "Do you trust that guy so much?" The black-dressed girl replied, "He will come." As soon as she finished speaking, exclamations rang out from the sky. The black-dressed girl smiled faintly. "He has arrived." Xianxia took off into the air, placing her little palms on her forehead, gazing into the distance. She saw many Usura clan members rapidly approaching the courtyard, surrounding something. As they closed in, Xianxia finally saw clearly. It was a 4-zhang-wide hole with a pitch-black pillar in the middle. It was clearly the connecting sky-black pillar. She clicked her tongue. He really came. The black-dressed girl gracefully stood up and said, "Let's go. I have set the location at the courtyard gate." Xianxia's eyes gleamed. "Young lady, you said the person I am marrying is a tall, handsome, wealthy human clan member who is also considerate and devoted." The black-dressed girl's faint smile froze slightly. Her instincts told her that Jiang Fan, like her, might have introduced a problematic marriage partner. Xianxia was fiery-tempered, known as the little chili pepper in the entire village. No one dared to marry her. Jiang Fan's introduction was likely not of a good character either, right? She adjusted her glasses and replied, "Yes, that's what he said." Xianxia was full of anticipation. She didn't care about other things, but being devoted was the most important to her. The two arrived outside the courtyard. It was already a sea of people. They couldn't help it. It was the first time in their lives they had seen the connecting sky-black pillar, and they realized this was a cross-realm marriage. The black-dressed girl calmly arrived at the entrance of the connecting sky-black pillar's opening. Holding Xianxia's hand, she stepped inside without hesitation. "Hold on." A rough voice sounded. It was a middle-aged Usura with red-tinged skin and bloodshot eyes. The corners of his mouth naturally turned downward, and his brows furrowed close together. His muscles were particularly full, giving off a sense of being on the verge of erupting in anger. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Xianxia said in dissatisfaction. "It's rare for your daughter to find a spouse. Don't ruin it for me." As it turned out, he was Xianxia's father, the West Sea Crown Prince's future father-in-law, Long Lai. Long Lai snorted. "You can't just marry off to anyone. I also need to see. Only after passing my test will I allow you to marry." The black-dressed girl sighed secretly. The marriage was indeed not going to be smooth sailing. Or rather, within the Usura clan, someone didn't want her to continue receiving the Hell Abyss crystals. So they incited Long Lai to disrupt the marriage. Where there are people, there is the world. The Usura clan is no exception. Hopefully, the person Jiang Fan recommended would be reliable. Xianxia stomped her foot and said, "Dad, don't interfere. A daughter should marry whomever she wishes." Actually, she wasn't worried about getting married. The so-called nobody dares to marry her stems from the fact that families of equal status find it hard to accept her aggressive nature. If she were to choose someone with weaker abilities or from a less favorable family, it wouldn't be difficult at all. She wanted to help the young lady enter the ranks of the 5-crowned Usura king as soon as possible. Therefore, she was very keen on forming an alliance marriage. As long as the other party wasn't too bad, she'd agree to marry. Long Lai, with a serious face, said, "If you marry someone too inferior, the Long family's pride will be utterly gone. You either come back or I'll go with you." Xianxia, annoyed and about to rebuke, was interrupted by a girl in a black dress. "Dragon family master, you come along too." Then she looked around. Her gaze paused briefly on several Usura clan members, saying, "Anyone interested in observing the alliance marriage may come." Those who incited Long Lai were among them. Instead of letting them continue mischief in the dark, it was better to keep them under watch. The Usura clan members were excited. They were very curious about the Central Earth and eager to know the outcome of the alliance marriage. As the girl in the black dress stepped into the passage, many Usura clan members followed and jumped in. Great wilderness state. Jiang Fan put away the golden bowl and said, "It's right here. Wait quietly for 2 hours and they'll be here." West Sea Crown Prince eagerly rubbed his hands. "Oh, my lovely and lively heavenly immortal wife. I can't wait to spend a wonderful night with you." Jiang Fan felt a little apprehensive. Arranging such a character, would the 4-crowned Usura king call off the marriage alliance? However, he believed that the 4-crowned Usura king had a similar mindset to his own. It's unlikely they'd use a top-level woman from their clan for an alliance marriage. In the end, it should be like a blind man paired with a deaf man, a match made in heaven. Venerable Jing pondered, "Since it's an alliance marriage, as the male party in Central Earth, we should prepare a betrothal gift, right? Have you prepared it well?" She was eager to participate, as this was the first alliance marriage between the two realms. As an elder, she could offer some help. Jiang Fan nodded gently. "Thank you, Lady Venerable, for your kindness. The betrothal gift is already prepared, ensuring the bride's family will not leave empty-handed." Venerable Jing was surprised. Jiang Fan was really confident. Could a junior's gift surpass that of her, a senior of heavenly person, 4 declines? After a slight pause, she continued, "All right, since you prepared the betrothal gift. Then I'll act as an elder for the West Sea Crown Prince and show some support." Jiang Fan shook his head and said, "There's no need. I am enough. In some aspects, my support is more effective than Lady Venerable's. Lady Venerable can just rest on the side." Venerable Jing found it both amusing and exasperating. Could a heavenly person 4 declines presence be less effective than a 5 apertures nascent souls? She did not insist further, saying, "All right, if you need help, let me know." Jiang Fan nodded. Everything was ready, just waiting for the Usura clan to arrive. 2 hours later, a whistling cold wind fell from the connecting sky-black pillar linked to the sky. Everyone was invigorated. Whether it was Venerable Jing or the demon cultivators, they all looked up to stare. It was their first time seeing the Usura clan and the first encounter with someone from the heavenly realm. Under their gaze, a cloud slowly descended. Leading them was the 4-crowned Usura king, in a flowing black dress adorned with unique gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an intellectual beauty that hit directly. By her side was a charming young girl in a bright red dress, twirling around searching for her future husband. Along with them, dozens of Usuras arrived. Jiang Fan was slightly surprised why so many Usuras came. Moreover, some of them clearly had unfriendly looks. He looked at the 4-crowned Usura king, who blinked, and Jiang Fan fully understood. Perhaps there were internal conflicts within the Usura clan. Sigh, there's no escaping it anywhere. Fortunately, he was somewhat prepared to keep things under control. Instantly, he masked his different expressions, smiled, and stepped forward to greet them using the language of hell. "Welcome, esteemed members of the Usura clan, to the Central Earth realm. I am Jiang Fan from Taikang State." The girl in a black dress remained elegantly calm, saying, "Thank you, young Master Jiang, for personally welcoming us." She introduced the girl beside her, Xianxia. "This is Miss Xianxia from our clan. 17 years old, her cultivation is equivalent to your 9th layer of core formation, originating from the Long family with a prestigious status." Jiang Fan summoned the West Sea Crown Prince. "This is our Taikang State's West Sea Crown Prince. His cultivation is also 9th layer perfection. originating from the West Sea Palace, the only son of the West Sea Demon Emperor. The West Sea Crown Prince eagerly took in the sight of Xianxia. Honestly, he was somewhat disappointed. At first glance, he was smitten by the girl in the black dress whose outstanding beauty stood out. Although Xianxia was also beautiful, she paled in comparison when standing beside the girl in black. Xianxia, too, was sizing up the West Sea Crown Prince, slightly pouting her lips. She felt a bit dissatisfied. This West Sea Crown Prince seemed decent and was indeed a suitable match for her. But standing next to young Master Jing, his aura was somewhat inferior. Both were unimpressed by each other. Jiang Fan asked, "West Sea Crown Prince, what do you think of Miss Xianxia?" The West Sea Crown Prince complained, "Godfather, where's the heavenly fairy you mentioned? This one called Xianxia is pretty but isn't quite up to the standard of a heavenly fairy." Back then, Jiang Fan swore to the heavens, claiming this girl was of a heavenly fairy nature. And this is the result. Jiang Fan pointed to the sky and said, "That's right, a fairy from the heavenly realm, simply called a heavenly fairy." The West Sea Crown Prince realized he was duped. Annoyed, he said, "Jiang Fan, I thought of you as a brother and you lied to me." "We're done." Jiang Fan grabbed him, deciding not to pretend anymore. Right, you introduced me to be a concubine for a demoness. You indeed saw me as a dear brother." The West Sea Crown Prince, feeling sheepish, murmured, "Well, that didn't happen, did it? All right, let's just say we both deceived each other once, so it's even now. Let's remain good brothers in the future. I'll take my leave now." But Jiang Fan held onto his arm, showing no intention of letting go. The other hand took out a slave contract. It was the contract he tricked the West Sea Crown Prince into signing when he asked to purge the demonic chi inside him. "Take a look." The West Sea Crown Prince was stunned. At that time, he was desperate to rid himself of the demonic chi. Thus, he made bold promises to repay Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan then produced a contract for him to sign. In his urgency, he hadn't read it. Now he finally had a chance to see the contents. But just one look and he nearly spat blood. Written there, "I, West Sea Crown Prince, willingly marry the heavenly realm's Xianxia. If I break my vow, I will face the following punishments. First, self-mutilation once a day. Second, find an honest man to marry each old flame. Third, return to the demoness." He didn't finish reading, because just seeing the first 3 points felt like the sky was falling. Dragon self-severed every day. What kind of devil comes up with such a cruel punishment? Fine, let it be like this. He even had to give away those old flames he'd accumulated over the years. My God might as well kill him. In the end, he is sent back to the demoness, a fate worse than death. "Jiang Fan, you're really ruthless," the West Sea Crown Prince exclaimed in frustration. Jiang Fan gave him a sidelong glance. "Read until the end before you speak." The West Sea Crown Prince continued down the contract book. He found another clause. "If the contract is fulfilled, you'll be guaranteed reaching the Demon Emperor realm." The West Sea Crown Prince was stunned. Demon Emperor? He never even dared to think about it in his lifetime. The resources of the demon race in Taikang State have always been extremely scarce. The sky demon relic that could let the demon race break through to the Demon Emperor is even more rare than a phoenix feather. Moreover, even if one obtains it, breaking through the nascent soul realm is a matter of life and death. Did not the Beihai Crown Prince next door try to break through to the Demon Emperor realm before? And what was the result? He almost died under the heavenly tribulation. So he had long figured it out. Why not just enjoy food and drink and play with women? Why bother with something so unrewarding and die under the heavenly tribulation? But now Jiang Fan promises a secure path to the Demon Emperor realm. Really? He felt like he was dreaming. Jiang Fan glanced at him sideways. "Do you think I would really betray my brother like you do? By marrying, you will be granted sufficient fortune so you won't suffer any loss. If possible, I'll make a trip to the Demon Continent where there should be enough sky demon relics to help you break through to the Demon Emperor realm." How could he let the West Sea Crown Prince sacrifice for nothing? No matter how troublesome the sky demon relic is, he will find a way to obtain it. The West Sea Crown Prince was moved and hugged him, saying, "Godfather, I'm sorry. I just spoke too loudly. Please forgive me." Securing a path to the Demon Emperor realm and getting a pretty and cute wife for free. How could he refuse? Jiang Fan pushed him away disdainfully, saying, "Go hug your bride. Consider yourself lucky. I thought it would be a shrew, but turns out she's an adorable and pretty Usura maiden." "You lucky bastard," he was somewhat puzzled. The girl in the black dress actually introduced a truly great Usura clan maiden. It made him a bit guilty instead. "Young Master Jiang, is there a problem?" the girl in the black dress asked suspiciously, speaking in a hellish tongue. Jiang Fan put an arm around the West Sea Crown Prince's shoulder, laughing. No problem. The West Sea Crown Prince just thinks that Miss Xianxia is too beautiful, and he's afraid he can't handle it, feeling a bit shy. But everything's fine now. The girl in the black dress slightly nodded, though she knew things weren't as Jiang Fan said, but as long as it could be bluffed through, it was fine. She turned to ask Xianxia, "How do you find him?" Xianxia pouted, pointing at Jiang Fan, and said, "Can't we switch to him? I think this one might be better." The girl in the black dress calmly said, "You do have a good eye, but he's a man who played the five-star giant king like a fiddle. If you follow him, you'll thank him while helping him count the money after he sells you." Upon hearing this, Xianxia couldn't help but have her hair stand on end. This seemingly harmless young man is that dangerous. Turns out the West Sea Crown Prince is easier to handle, so she immediately nodded. "All right, him then." She had just begun to speak. A few Usura clan members exchanged glances and began muttering with a strange tone. "That one doesn't really look like much. Getting married so hastily, poor Xianxia's future life will be tough." "Hush, don't say that. Xianxia, who nobody wants, is already lucky to marry a Central Earth's little demon clan member." With words like those, Long Lai, who originally wasn't dissatisfied with the West Sea Crown Prince, was looking red and blue in the face. He snorted through his nose, grumbling, "I haven't even spoken yet." His rough, booming voice drowned out everyone else. Jiang Fan cast a questioning glance at the girl in the black dress. "Who is he?" "Xianxia's father, Long Lai." Jiang Fan realized now it was the West Sea Crown Prince's father-in-law. He smiled and said, "Greetings, in-law." Long Lai snorted, "Don't bother with formalities. I need to check if this kid is reliable or not. Don't let him ruin my daughter." He took out a fruit wrapped in yin qi and handed it to the West Sea Crown Prince. The West Sea Crown Prince looked to Jiang Fan for guidance, and with the latter's reluctant nod, he ate it immediately. Soon, his consciousness began to blur. Long Lai asked grimly, "How many women have you had?" Xianxia was also very concerned about this question. She was marrying into the Central Earth realm alone, and if the West Sea Crown Prince abandoned her, she wouldn't even be able to return to the heavenly realm. The West Sea Crown Prince raised 2 fingers. Seeing this, Xianxia breathed a sigh of relief. "2, I can accept that." But then the West Sea Crown Prince involuntarily blurted out the truth. "It's 200. "What?" The demon cultivators in the audience looked at the West Sea Crown Prince as if they had seen a ghost. They all quickly did the math. If it started from age 18, that would mean 200 in just 5 years for the West Sea Crown Prince. Doesn't that mean changing women every 10 days? Even new clothes aren't changed that often. Long Lai frowned and asked, "What did he say?" Jiang Fan translated, "2 have already been divided." However, someone from the Usura clan said cynically, "How come I heard it was 200? It's not as if they were completely unfamiliar with the language of the Central Earth realm. Some of them could still understand a few simple words. Upon hearing this, Long Lai became infuriated. "This decadent wastrel wants to marry my daughter. I do not agree with this marriage alliance." Xianxia was also shocked. This was beyond being a playboy. The girl in the black dress let out a slight sigh of relief. Initially, she was worried, having introduced a heavenly realm Tyrannosaurus. Fortunately, Jiang Fan introduced a West Sea pervert dragon. It's a match for a match. Jiang Fan smiled and said, "In-law, don't be angry. I believe Miss Xianxia will be able to manage the West Sea Crown Prince. Besides, he is truly sincere in marrying Miss Xianxia. Look, he's even prepared the bridal gifts." He brought out a small box. Long Lai laughed angrily. "I don't want your damned bridal gifts." But as the box opened, a wave of hellish aura swept out. This shocked Long Lai. The pure yin qi from hell had a fatal allure for those far away in the heavenly realm. Even the girl in the black dress couldn't help but adjust her glasses, staring at the 10 radishes exposed in the open box. Yin qi vegetables. If even she reacted this way, imagine the reaction from the Usura clan that had followed behind. Every one of them showed a soul-deep yearning in their eyes. Long Lai swallowed hard, still keeping a stern face, but his tone softened slightly. "These bridal gifts, In the next moment, Jiang Fan took out 10 additional small boxes. Altogether, there were 100 yin qi vegetables. Long Lai's eyes gleamed, his cheeks twitched with excitement, and he exclaimed, These are all bridal gifts." Jiang Fan said, "Is it enough?" Long Lai immediately broke into a big smile, grabbed Jiang Fan's shoulders, saying, "Good in-law, you are too generous. The marriage is settled." "Xianxia, why aren't you going over?" Xianxia widened her eyes, stomped her foot, and said, "Dad, you're selling me to this playboy?" Long Lai grinned with his big yellow teeth and said, "Dad is sending you to enjoy a good life." With such a good father-in-law, how could the days be bad? Some troublemaking Asura clan members saw the situation and quickly whispered together. Isn't this selling a daughter? Is the Long family really that short on yin chi vegetables? They thought Long Lai would be unable to hold his face, but unexpectedly he turned around. He rushed into the Asura clan, grabbed a talkative Asura and gave him 2 quick slaps. You talk too damn much, and you all stop chattering about my daughter's marriage. Don't think I don't know what kind of evil schemes you're plotting. The girl in the black dress slightly curved her lips. She had originally been worried that Long Lai would ruin the marriage. Now, it was Long Lai worried about the marriage being ruined. One has to admit, the bridal gifts from Jiang Fan had hit the Achilles heel of the heavenly realm Asura clan. No one could refuse. This guy, daring to take on the major affair of interclan marriage, wasn't without confidence. She said leisurely, "Does anyone else have objections to the marriage?" The Asura clan member who had been slapped wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and defiantly shouted, "The Central Earth realm is about to face a catastrophe. Isn't Xianxia walking into hell by marrying in?" "Young lady, you're trapping your own people." The girl in the black dress didn't respond. She just looked at Jiang Fan. It meant do as you see fit. Jiang Fan chuckled, looked at the speaking Asura clan member. "Who says the Central Earth isn't safe?" He patted the corpse bag at his waist. 4 towering giant shadows suddenly appeared behind the Asura clan members, surrounding them. Realm fears the most. It's undoubtedly their lifelong nightmare. The ancient giants. This is a shadow they've been unable to escape since memory began. Now 4 towering giant kings have suddenly appeared, surrounding them. The intimidation is unimaginable. "Giant kings?" Long Lai's hand shook, almost dropping the betrothal gifts. The Asura clan members who came to watch were trembling violently, with some even sprinting towards the connecting sky-black pillar. They only realized after running several steps that these giant kings were immobile like puppets. Stopping with faces pale, they looked up at the 4 terrifying giant kings. Even the girl in black skirt had her pupils tremble for a moment when the 4 giant kings manifested. A hint of surprise appeared on her face as she observed them, murmuring, "They've been refined into puppets, haven't they? A kind of puppet yin corpse." Jiang Fan thought to himself, and the 4 giant kings moved at his command, demonstrating briefly. While walking, the fog giant king's foot accidentally kicked a defiant Asura clan member. He spurted blood on the spot and was almost blown apart. The Asura clan member angrily said, "You did that on purpose." Jiang Fan shrugged. "Isn't it obvious?" He looked around at the other Asura clan members, speaking earnestly. "The strongest fortresses are often broken from within. Some of you, for your own gain, are undermining the birth of a 5-crowned Asura king, which is undoubtedly digging your own grave. Today you harm him. Tomorrow he harms you. One day you will destroy your own walls and doom your clan. Moreover," he paused, then said meaningfully, "I don't believe your settlement can forever resist the ancient giants. Their giant emperor is on another battlefield far away. If he is freed, can your settlement be spared? Take advantage while the giant emperor is preoccupied and cultivate your own Asura emperor sooner. Otherwise, your fate will be worse than that of Central Earth." Jiang Fan's words left the Asura clan silent and solemn. They understood the reason in their hearts, but hearing it from another's mouth made it particularly piercing. Long Lai singled out some Asura clan members who had been stirring trouble, patting the back of their heads, and shouted, "You all heard that? Go back and tell the young clan leader. Instead of worrying about clan members surpassing him, it's better for him to break through to Asura Emperor himself." "A young clan leader with less awareness than my little kin." Jiang Fan's eyes flashed secretly. No wonder a few not-so-strong Asura clan members dared to disrupt the marriage alliance led by the 4-crowned Asura king. It turns out there's a formidable young clan leader backing them, and judging from the tone, his strength is likely that of a 5-crowned Asura king. After pondering, he took out a Hell Abyss crystal in public and said, "Miss, the elders of our Taikang state asked me to bring this to you. Best wishes on successfully advancing to 5-crowned Asura king." He had given her one before, but she hadn't broken through to 5-crowned Asura king. It seems one wasn't enough. Behind her glasses, the girl's eyes glowed slightly. With 2, her chances of reaching 5-crowned Asura king greatly increased. If she truly breaks through, she won't need the Hell Abyss crystal anymore. She wouldn't have to honor the agreement to hold back the 5-star giant king, since it's a very dangerous task. But with the marriage alliance, she had to do it. This is the significance of the marriage alliance, building trust. The girl in black skirt accepted the Hell Abyss crystal and said, Xianxia has been my sister since childhood. Though not related by blood in my eyes, she surpasses a true sister. With her in Central Earth, I will honor the agreement. Jiang Fan said, please also entrust Xianxia to the West Sea Crown Prince. His father and I are sworn brothers. If Xianxia is bullied, she can come to me. I will seek justice on her behalf. The girl in black skirt nervously adjusted her glasses. Better worry about whether the West Sea Crown Prince might be bullied. In this case, our marriage alliance is concluded, meaning they're preparing to return to the heavenly realm. Jiang Fan gazed into her eyes, initiating mute Zen, speaking away from the Asura clan, saying, do you want to stay in Central Earth for a few days? The girl in black skirt was slightly surprised but quickly regained composure, asking, why have me stay? Jiang Fan said, your settlement is unstable. It would be better to return after breaking through to 5-crowned Asura king to avoid disturbances. So, he was considering my well-being. The girl in black skirt rarely showed a hint of a smile, replied, thanks. I've been able to train to 4-crowned Asura king, naturally having ways to avoid interference. Besides, as a 4-crowned Asura king, I shouldn't linger in Central Earth too long, to avoid misunderstandings. She glanced meaningfully at the sky of Great Wilderness State. Seeing she had a plan, Jiang Fan felt assured. Take care then. If I recall correctly, the great hunt is about to begin. Ancient giants will no longer be constrained by the world, able to freely enter your settlement for a month-long hunt. Your settlement may be as solid as a fortress, but always leave an escape route. After thinking, he said, how about I leave the connecting sky-black pillar in your settlement? If anything happens, you can retreat back to Central Earth. If the girl in black skirt settlement can truly not be breached by ancient giant kings, the connecting sky-black pillar could remain there permanently. This way, the ancient giants cannot descend upon the great wilderness state, preventing war. No, the girl in black skirt decisively said, if the connecting sky-black pillar is in our settlement, the ancient giants will attack with full force. That would present an unprecedented crisis for our settlement. Even if I agree, the settlement would never agree. Jiang Fan nodded. This was within his expectations, saying, all right, I will move it later. The girl in black skirt felt slightly guilty since Jiang Fan was genuinely thinking of her, yet she had refused. After brief consideration, she revealed the secret of the Central Tribe's military movements. The forces of the Central Tribe are aimed at Central Earth State. They are elite among ancient giants. The dispatched unit's strength remains unknown, but is extremely dangerous. Jiang Fan became immediately solemn. According to the girl's analysis, the dispatched troop is likely targeting either their settlement or Taikang State. No matter who they aim for, it's bad news. Thank you for informing me. Jiang Fan expressed gratitude. Without the girl's information, he wouldn't have known, and it would be difficult to know in the future, because today's gathering of people from 2 realms is almost impossible to happen again. Once the battle starts, the connecting sky-black pillar will be controlled by ancient giants. The Asura clan will not be able to descend to the lower realm again. Suddenly, he had a thought. Guzinner crossed state distances, transmitting real-time messages via the moon realm. So, does the moon realm work across the realms too? Thinking of this, he took out the final piece of the 7 moon realm fragments and handed it to the girl in the black skirt. What is this? Jiang Fan said. A magic artifact used for communication, but I'm not sure if it can transmit messages across realms. When you return to the heavenly realm, try writing on it. The girl in the black skirt accepted it after hearing this. If this moon realm is useful, having real-time information on Central Earth would also benefit her. Thanks, I accepted another gift from you. Do you need my help? She glanced at the venerable Jing not far away, speaking with significant meaning. She had already guessed that Jiang Fan was guarding against this person. When she saw the mysterious demon liquid smeared on Jiang Fan's face, and noticed the terrifyingly powerful heavenly person 4 decline great cultivator. Jiang Fan replied, she is indeed a trouble, but she shouldn't recognize me, no need to worry. The girl in the black skirt nodded slightly and said, then be careful in handling it. Be even more cautious after the ancient giants arrive in Central Earth. You have gained some fame in the heavenly realm. In the future, you will be a key target for the ancient giants. Jiang Fan was taken aback. My actions in the Black Sun Royal Court have already spread to all parts of the southern heavenly realm. The girl in the black skirt nodded and then shook her head. Your actions account for only a small part. Jiang Fan was puzzled. What does this mean? I've only moved around the Black Sun Royal Court for a while. Apart from that, I haven't been anywhere else. The girl in the black skirt looked at Jiang Fan with a strange expression and said, you haven't been there. but someone impersonated you, provoking the ancient giants across the heavenly realm. Jiang Fan was shocked. Who is so full that they would impersonate me? The next moment he shivered and suddenly remembered someone. Wang Qingxiao, whom he had used as a hostage and pawned to the five-star giant king. No way, this guy actually managed to escape from the hands of the five-star giant king. It's too incredible. Immediately he felt uneasy and with a dark face said, "What has this guy impersonated me to do?" The girl in the black skirt hesitated for a moment, as if it was difficult to say, and then she spoke with an unnatural expression. He's done many things to infuriate the ancient giants. For instance, he eloped with several female giants, one of whom was the wife of a certain giant king. Another time, while a tribe was out for training, he captured their young giants and sold them to some Asura clan villages. Furthermore, he spiked a tribe's food with aphrodisiacs, causing them to become indiscriminate for several days and nights without getting out of bed. There are many similar things. Jiang Fan understood. All these actions are not greatly harmful but extremely insulting. And then, how is he impersonating me? He can't be claiming to be Jiang Fan before doing bad deeds, right? The girl in the black skirt shook her head and with an odd look in her eyes said, "Not quite." Somehow he learned this advanced trick, and after causing trouble he would spray letters everywhere. Jiang Fan was here. Crack. The ground beneath Jiang Fan's feet instantly cracked under his stamp. His face turned as dark as it could be. Through clenched teeth he said, "This bastard. He's deliberately impersonating me to provoke the ancient giants, so the ancient giants would come looking for me. The ancient giants shouldn't be stupid, right? They won't really think I did it, will they?" The girl in the black skirt said, "Of course not. The ancient giants can naturally see through such frame-ups, but since they don't know who did it, they have no choice but to pin the blame on you. I got some inside information." She paused, looking at Jiang Fan with some concern. "It said that a giant emperor from the central tribe personally mentioned your name." Jiang Fan suddenly felt numb. This matter has escalated to the level of the giant emperor. Wang Qingxiao, this guy causes such trouble without consequences. However, thinking about how he once tricked Wang Qingxiao, he wasn't overly furious. One could say it's even. Besides, the giant emperor of the central tribe needs to remain in central command and wouldn't come to the remote Black Sun royal court. And Jiang Fan had long been at odds with the Black Sun royal court. Without the giant emperor's orders, the Black Sun royal court would still prioritize eliminating him. So Wang Qingxiao's aggressive actions, in reality, had limited harm. "All right, I understand." Jiang Fan was clear in his mind that he would settle this score. The girl in the black skirt said, "Then I'll be on my way." Jiang Fan cupped his hands. "Take care, my lady. Wait a moment, I've never known your name." "I can't keep addressing you like that, can I?" Last time in the temporary camp, she was unwilling to reveal it. Hearing this, the girl in the black skirt pondered for a moment and said, "Red sleeves." Jiang Fan nodded slowly. "The younger sister is called Green Pearl and the older sister is called Red Sleeves." He felt that the names of the two sisters seemed reversed. The older sister was more calm and should be called Green Pearl. The younger sister was lively and should be called Red Sleeves instead. "All right then, Red Sleeves Fairy, until we meet again." Jiang Fan closed the mute zen. Red Sleeves nodded lightly and said, "Farewell." She gave Xianxia a consoling look, turned around, and led the Asura clan back to the connecting sky-black pillar and flew away. Thousands of demon cultivators immediately began to gossip, but their focus was entirely not on the marriage alliance. Did I see it wrong just now? Senior Jiang and that unbelievably beautiful black-skirted female Asura king kept gazing at each other, and he just let her accept the token of affection, the moon-white fragment, occasionally smiling shyly, occasionally looking unnatural. He didn't say a word and conquered her. That gaze, at least 100 years of cultivation. Impressive, Senior Jiang truly is a model for those of us in the demon path. Venerable Jing gently furrowed her brow. She'd had enough of this group of demon cultivators who only had women and combat in their eyes. Was the focus that black-skirted woman? Shouldn't it be the bride price, 4 giant kings? Though she couldn't understand the Asura language, she could sense that the marriage alliance had almost collapsed earlier. It was the 10 boxes of yin-chi vegetables that stabilized the situation. Then, when there was trouble from the Asura clan, it was once again the 4 giant kings who stabilized the situation. Thus the marriage alliance was completed without danger. The way she looked at Jiang Fan was filled with surprise, finally understanding why Jiang Fan did not need her help. The bride price she could offer certainly didn't attract the Asura clan like the yin-chi vegetables, and her heavenly person for decline cultivation might not be valued by the Asura clan. But refining the four giant kings they feared made them revered as gods. He really has skills. No wonder so many venerates praised him after seeing the images. Venerable Xianxia's eyes shone with admiration. She decided to mentor this outstanding junior properly. Scanning the noisy demon cultivators around, she said, "You all may leave now." The demon cultivators excitedly dispersed. "Go, go, I want to put Senior Jiang's theory on charming, strong women into practice. I'm going to use Lady Venerable to sweeten up my aloof female martial aunt. Useless, I'm going to use Senior Jiang's gaze to open the heart of my brother's wife. Aren't you my brother? Damn, you dare to covet your brother's wife. Let's fight to the death, scum." At this moment, Jiang Fan's mind was collapsing. He clasped his hands toward the sky and said, "Ancient saint, please open your eyes and see clearly. It's not me who corrupted the customs of the great wilderness state. They were crooked from the start." Xianxia walked over and chuckled upon hearing this. "Don't pay them any mind. Demon cultivators are often accompanied by demonic chi. Over time, their minds become somewhat abnormal." Seeing her approach, Jiang Fan's heart tightened. "You are the one I least want to deal with." He maintained his composure, saying, "Thank you for your concern, Lady Venerable. Now that the marriage alliance is settled, I plan to return to Taikang State and bid farewell to Lady Venerable." He had no intention of staying beside Venerable Xianxia. "No rush." Venerable Xianxia stopped him, saying, "Since we've met, let me guide you in your cultivation." This is exactly what I feared. If Venerable Xianxia carefully observed him, she would surely notice that he was identical to the little trickster who fooled her in the Forbidden Land. But he couldn't refuse, or it would arouse suspicion. After all, who would refuse guidance from a heavenly person decline great cultivator for no reason? He could only think of ways to delay for a while, and prepare for his escape. His gaze shifted to the West Sea Crown Prince and Xianxia. Jiang Fan needed to get them to leave first. Otherwise, escaping with them wouldn't be too realistic. "West Sea Crown Prince, Xianxia," Jiang Fan called out in human and hell languages respectively. The two responded and came over. "Adoptive father, when can I get to the bridal chamber?" the West Sea Crown Prince asked eagerly. The more he looked at Xianxia, the more he found her pleasing to the eye, stunning from every angle. He was quite satisfied with this bride. Xianxia, with a sour face, asked, "What do you have to say?" She was completely uninterested in this West Sea Crown Prince who had over 200 former wives. Jiang Fan took out a yin-chi vegetable and handed it to Xianxia. "A small gift for your marriage." Xianxia's face lit up with a smile. "Thank you, father-in-law." Calling such a young father-in-law felt odd to her. Then Jiang Fan took out the notebook given by Hua Xin and said, "This is a translation of human and hell languages. Read it when you have time. It will help you quickly adapt to the environment of Central Earth." Xianxia happily accepted it. This father-in-law was very considerate, although he was an adoptive father-in-law. Then, Jiang Fan took out a top-grade crystal stone and handed it to the West Sea Crown Prince, saying, "Take Xianxia back to Taikang State first and hold a wedding for her. Do not neglect her. After the wedding, come to my heavenly mechanism pavilion." The West Sea Crown Prince was satisfied and said, "Thank you, adoptive father. We'll be on our way." Jiang Fan nodded. Watching the two leave, he then said, "Lady Venerable, I need to move this connecting sky-black pillar to another place first, to avoid causing trouble for the Asura clan villages above." Venerable Xianxia observed everything and expressed her admiration without reservation. Such a gentle and attentive child. He even prepared a translation notebook for that girl. She was growing more fond of this young man, Jiang Fan. Looking at the connecting sky-black pillar, she said, "Let me take you somewhere. You can't just put this connecting sky-black pillar anywhere. No demon sect would want it on their territory." "That's true," Jiang Fan said. "Then let's wait for the Asura clan to return to their village and then ask Lady Venerable to lead the way." At this moment, the Asura clan was still ascending. If he moved the connecting sky-black pillar, who knew where it would take them? About 2 hours later, the moon realm suddenly chimed. Jiang Fan's heart skipped a beat. He took it out and sure enough, there was a line of text on it. "Home, as expected from the four-crowned Asura king." When Jiang Fan and the others climbed to the heavenly realm, it took them 5 days. The four-crowned Asura king took the Asura clan and only used 2 hours. This gap isn't small at all. He was pleased that the moon realm could communicate across realms. In the future, he could keep track of the movements of the ancient giants in the southern heavenly realm in real time. He immediately replied, "Pick a good name until we meet again." It's truly amazing how it can transmit messages across realms. We can chat at any time now, no more sneaking around like before. Jiang Fan was dumbfounded. What's sneaking around? That was mute Zen. Why did it sound as if there was something illicit going on? Fortunately, they were communicating in Hell language, which others couldn't understand. There was no need to worry about misunderstandings. Pick a good name. Let's keep in touch then. Okay. Oh right, my sister may have descended to the lower realm. The strange feeling I sensed has lessened considerably, just as you said. After crossing realms, the telepathic sense is mostly blocked. It's a wonderful feeling of liberation. Jiang Fan was taken aback. Green Pearl had already arrived in Taikang State. This was not good. That woman is a legitimate two-crown Asura king. Apart from the great wine sacrifice, no one can handle her. Pick a good name, I know I'll figure out how to deal with it. The talisman you gave me for erasing memories hasn't been used. Don't let her come back. Also, don't let it be like last time, kissing and touching. I can sense it. Jiang Fan blushed. Goodness, is this something that can be said in the moon realm? Luckily, they don't understand Hell language, but who would have thought? At this moment, the moon realm beeped intensely. Main palace, flower cluster, death diary, flowers in bloom, never ruin the scenery, brother, you shocked me. Jiang Fan was bewildered. You guys, can you understand what we're chatting about? Flower cluster. Marshal uncle, you better take it easy. The rebellious guy is translating for us. Sister Liu is now very angry. Jiang Fan's mind buzzed. Damn, how did I forget about the rebellious guy? It had spent quite some time on the 10th floor of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion with Ayashura King and the little young master. It likely picked up a lot of Hell language. Flowers in bloom. I learned Hell language a long time ago. Today is the first time I've seen someone use it for communication, but I never expected the content would be so explosive. Jiang Fan was feeling dizzy, almost fell to the ground. His chat with Red Sleeves had been publicly exposed. Were there others, and did they put so many question marks because they really understood what I said? Red Sleeves also realized something was wrong. Pick a good name. What do you think? Above in the heavenly realm. Red Sleeves tossed the moon realm fragment far away as if it were electrified. Her cold, white face rapidly blushed. Underneath her golden glasses, her sparkling eyes were filled with panic. She bit her red lips slightly, saying, "Why didn't he warn me there were others?" She thought it was a magic artifact for her and Jiang Fan to chat privately. Who knew it was a public one? Thinking of what she had written just now, she covered her face, feeling too embarrassed to face anyone. Jiang Fan's face also turned red. Hearing the beeping sounds, he didn't dare to look anymore. Letting chaos break out in the moon realm, he shut it off and put it in his bosom. Venerable Jing asked in surprise, "Are you all right?" Jiang Fan coughed dryly and said, No problem. The Asura clan has ascended. Let's set off quickly." Venerable Jing, puzzled, glanced at Jiang Fan's flushed face and took him away in a flash. Meanwhile, in Central Earth Holy Spirit State, a series of exquisite laughter came from a cool grand hall suspended in the Kankiang. A young lady, dressed in celestial robes and of unparalleled beauty, sat on a soft bed. Holding a piece of moon realm, she enthusiastically wrote something, occasionally covering her mouth and laughing. On the back of her head, there was a divine ring with 5 flame engravings, swaying with her laughter. "Breakthrough, great venerate, what's wrong?" The maid attending to her couldn't help but express concern. In her memory, the great venerate was mostly silent, not fond of speaking with others. Last time the Wanyun sage summoned her, she even refused to go. What was going on today? Earlier in the morning, she didn't mention it. While holding a fragment and drinking tea, she saw some news and lost her composure, spitting out a mouthful of tea. She even sent her to deliver 100 spirit pill to Taikang State. Now it's even more outrageous. Hugging a fragment, she giggled continuously for a while, as if she had become a different person. She was a bit puzzled. Was there something heaven-defying in this fragment, making the great venerate so obsessed? "Liu, I've met some very interesting people. They always come up with some bizarre things." The great venerate raised her pure and flawless pretty face, unable to stop laughing, and said, "A new member just came in. She thought the moon realm was a private chat and said a lot of shameless things. As a result, she angered the woman called the main palace. I can imagine how embarrassed she is now." She covered her mouth, laughing nonstop. The maid Liu's forehead twitched, and she said, "Great venerate, why are you chatting with a bunch of juniors? With this time, it's better to go out and accumulate merit so you can break through to the great sage realm sooner." But the great venerate said, No rush, let me finish eating this melon first. The main palace is digging up some scandalous past of a well-named man, saying that when he was in the core formation realm, he snatched the demon emperor's concubine, became a nascent soul, and brought a female venerable to bed, 2 women serving 1 husband. Now he's up in the sky, down on earth, and in the sea, just not in the outer state. The well-named man now doesn't dare to speak at all, Liu muttered. The well-named man is too outrageous, isn't he? Great Venerate, you should be on guard against him. The great Venerate glanced at her. What nonsense! I don't even know him, how could he possibly flirt with me? After saying this, she continued to play in the moon realm. It wasn't until much later, when the chat ended, that she reluctantly put away the moon realm, got up, and stretched lazily. Her chest tightened, outlining a rounded and upright curve. It's time to go out for a walk. I'll travel across the states and spread benevolence and virtue. Accumulating merit is forbidden in each state. All the heavenly person 5 decays supreme can only walk the path of merit to virtue. She could only accumulate merit little by little in this way. Speaking of Jiang Fan, venerable Jing brought him, galloping all the way to the extreme east of the great wilderness state. This place was a deserted wilderness, not only lacking in spiritual objects, but even ordinary vegetation found it hard to grow. Thus, there were no demon sects or ordinary people. Let's place the connecting sky-black pillar here, venerable Jing said. It's a pity the great wilderness state doesn't have a fierce land like your Taikang state. Otherwise, placing the connecting sky-black pillar in a fierce land would cause some trouble for the ancient giant's arrival. Jiang Fan remembered Jai Qingshuan said before leaving, Taikang state has a fierce land. The misfortune broken bone she gave him came from there. Venerable Jing's words reminded Jiang Fan that after returning, he could move the connecting sky-black pillar to the fierce land. Jiang Fan put down the connecting sky-black pillar in his hand, stiffened his scalp, and said, Lady Venerable, your injuries are not healed yet. Why not wait until you're healed before guiding me? He continued to find excuses to delay. Venerable Jing waved her hand. No problem, the injuries are already stabilized. I can guide you while healing, it's not a bother. She sat cross-legged, continuing to heal her injuries and sensing Jiang Fan's cultivation level. Surprisingly, she said, it's also a 5 apertures nascent soul also practiced Thunder Path, what a coincidence. Jiang Fan almost broke into a cold sweat. Lady Venerable, what are you talking about? Fortunately, Venerable Jing did not associate the two together. After all, one was a heroic young man who bravely ventured into the heavenly realm without fear of sacrifice. The other was a little trickster. The two were polar opposites. No normal person would think they were the same person. A pesky guy, my injuries are all thanks to him. Once I heal, I'll cleave him in 2 with 1 sword. Enough about him, I'll help you hone your realm. With a thought, numerous mirrors floated around her, all reflecting Jiang Fan. Then figures of Jiang Fan emerged from the mirrors. Without saying a word, they launched his many divine skills to attack. Jiang Fan immediately understood that venerable Jing used her domain to create powerful enemies for him, rapidly honing his current realm through combat. Thank you, Lady Venerable. Jiang Fan could only suppress his unease and face them. Soul-shocking stab, undying blade, black sky eyes, soul-capturing lock. Several powerful and extraordinary secret techniques attacked Jiang Fan. At once, Jiang Fan found himself in a precarious situation. These secret techniques were satisfying when he used them against others, but now that they were used against him, he realized how troublesome they were. After just a few rounds, he was sent retreating backwards by his shadows. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and managed to stabilize his position, struggling to fight them. Venerable Jing watched in astonishment. A path of soul, a path of thunder, a path of body refinement. How does he also have an invisibility technique? What? How does he also have the fire origin? What? Does he have wind origin too? And so many spiritual artifacts. Unknowingly, she stood up in shock, watching Jiang Fan with a deep incredulity in her eyes. Originally thinking it was a simple honing, who would have thought Jiang Fan would display such astonishing means? It was already impressive enough that he had cultivated many top-level divine skills, but he had even cultivated 2 origins. Some who just entered the divinity transformation realm haven't even comprehended an origin. Various peculiar spiritual artifacts appeared endlessly. Feeling the powerful surges emanating, she was secretly shocked. What is this kid's background? You're sure there's no great venerate or even a sage supporting him? With such strength, even an atorifious nascent soul might find it hard to win against him. After being surprised for a while, she started to ponder. With such talent, why not bring him back to young Emperor Mountain? Fenger is recruiting talents from around the world, isn't he? He might appreciate someone like him a lot. Her eyes flickered. She continued to sit cross-legged, healing her injuries while observing Jiang Fan's life-and-death battle with the shadows. Time quickly passed to the 5th day. That day, Jiang Fan was exhausted, but his eyes sparkled with excitement. Compared to the giant family's slaughter steel, battling with his shadow was even more difficult and dangerous. In just 5 short days, he had completely consolidated his foundation. Next, with strong resources, he could open the 6th aperture. Venerable Jing had long since healed her injuries and waited for Jiang Fan to finish honing, her eyes gleaming as she said, "Jiang Fan, your foundation is stable. You can challenge the 6th stage nascent soul anytime. I don't have the corresponding resources with me. How about you follow me back to the heavenly state? I'll find a way to get them for you." Would a great cultivator at the heavenly person 4 declines really lack such resources? She clearly wanted to lure him to the heavenly state, right? Luckily, Jiang Fan himself had resources. He cupped his hands. "I appreciate your kindness, Lady Venerable. I've already prepared what I need for the breakthrough." Then, with a flip of his hand, a dragon marrow seed appeared. An ancient spiritual object that guaranteed a breakthrough by 1 tier for anyone at nascent soul middle stage and below. He had given it to many people for use, but he himself had never used it. The purpose was to save it for the breakthrough to the last realm of nascent soul middle stage, 6th stage nascent soul. Today, he could finally use it. Jing looked surprised. "You even have this ancient artifact thought to be extinct. I really underestimated you." Still thinking of luring Jiang Fan to young Emperor Mountain with resources. As it turns out, he doesn't need any of that. Saying she wants to support Jiang Fan in the end, she just helps him hone his foundation. She no longer insists on Jiang Fan returning to young Emperor Mountain. But the care she should provide, she still will, feeling Jiang Fan's thunder path, she said. "It's a pity that the thunder power on me was given to that little liar. You continue to break through here, I'll find him and get the thunder power back for you." After spending 5 or 6 days together, Venerable Jing hadn't discovered the truth, and Jiang Fan had already relaxed. He lightly turned his eyes and said, "Lady Venerable, as they say, enemies are better resolved than kept. Can you tell me in detail how this person is so detestable?" Rarely does Jiang Fan ask proactively. Venerable Jing thought for a moment and didn't hide anything, explaining the situation in detail. Jiang Fan asked, "Lady Venerable, are you angry that he spoiled your plans?" Venerable Jing shook her head, "Partly, but not to the point of hating him. He opposed me to protect venerate Wudong. To be honest, that part is rather admirable. With such little cultivation, he dared to block my sword with his body. What if the great sage's law failed?" Jiang Fan was puzzled. "Then what are you mad at him for?" Venerable Jing's face turned slightly cold. "I'm mad at myself for being totally fooled by a junior. He lied to me saying he was some nephew of venerate Wudong, and I believed him, even giving him all the thunder power on me. I feel like my intelligence was insulted by him." Recalling her test of Jiang Fan, whether he knew the news of the heavenly realm, Jiang Fan spoke so convincingly. He even made her believe it completely. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Jiang Fan rubbed his nose and said, "Well, I think he did so out of necessity. As a junior with a 5 apertures nascent soul, he walked cautiously into the forbidden land as promised. Suddenly, a venerable as beautiful and powerful as you appeared, how could he not be scared? To protect himself, he had no choice but to concoct a fake identity. In truth, he wasn't malicious." Venerable Jing was amused by him and tapped his forehead. "Little thing, you really are glib-tongued. I'm in my 40s, and you insincerely praise me as beautiful. Those demon cultivators gossiping about you and the girl in the black dress weren't wrong." Although she said this, much of the anger on her face dissipated. No matter the age, hearing oneself called beautiful is never unwelcome. "Fine, for your sake I won't trouble him, as long as he returns the thunder power." Jiang Fan secretly breathed a sigh of relief, having diffused a huge crisis for himself. He clasped his hands and said, "Lady Venerable, your magnanimity will keep you youthful." Venerable Jing couldn't take Jiang Fan's words and said, "Stop calling me sister. I'm old enough to be your mother. Save your flattery for sweet-talking those girls. I'm leaving now to find him." Jiang Fan hesitated a bit and asked, "Lady Venerable, do you know where he is?" Venerable Jing huffed. "How hard can it be? That little liar took my thunder power. Even if he runs to the ends of the earth, he can't escape. Today, I'll give him a lesson. Let him understand that a venerable's belongings are not easily taken." Jiang Fan felt a pang of dread. He suddenly remembered true word venerable falling down from the heavenly realm. Even across vast spaces, they could pinpoint him precisely. And the reason was that true word venerable had given Jiang Fan a life-saving lotus flower. A cold sweat slid down Jiang Fan's forehead. He wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Venerable Jing closed her eyes slightly, beginning to perceive. In the next moment, she opened her eyes quickly and slowly looked at Jiang Fan. Her eyes filled with doubt. When she noticed the mysterious demon liquid on Jiang Fan's face, the doubt turned into suspicion, then astonished realization until a furious understanding dawned. Finally, she laughed in extreme anger. Her teeth were clenched tightly, making a grinding noise, and she uttered in a voice chilling, "Ha ha, ha 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 ha. No wonder, no wonder. No wonder the little liar praised the mover of the connecting sky-black pillar as handsome, brilliant, graceful, highly skilled, and beloved. No wonder you covered for the little liar, spoke well of him, and asked me to spare his life. So, you are the little liar." Crunch. She clenched her fists, sparks shooting from her eyes. Fooling me once in the Forbidden Land wasn't enough, apparently. Here you continue to deceive, tricking me into helping you stabilize your foundation, tricking me into finding thunder power for you, tricking me into forgiving you. And I, like a fool, was fooled by you once again. Jiang Fan, I'll kill you. Venerable Jing was so angry she trembled, frenzied, and screamed. Jiang Fan swallowed hard and said urgently, "Lady Venerable, calm down." Hearing this, Venerable Jing grew even angrier. It was Jiang Fan's constant Lady Venerable that had allowed him to deceive her once more. She couldn't help but scream, "Even if you called me mother, it wouldn't work." Jiang Fan quickly changed his approach. "Hey, mother, it's me, Jiang Fan." The word mother stopped Venerable Jing in her tracks. Then she became even angrier and scolded, "You shameless scoundrel. Die." Jiang Fan's heart raced, and he shouted urgently, "Wait, I still have the sage's engraving. Dare to make a move and we'll perish together." He wasn't bluffing. The heavenly eye sage had left a permanent engraving in Jiang Fan's body. He didn't know what was engraved, or whether it could save his life. But right now, it was his only bargaining chip. The furious Venerable Jing finally calmed down a bit. Indeed, the rascal before her was no ordinary person. He previously manifested the sage's life-saving law, who could say he didn't have a second one. Seeing her slightly calm down, Jiang Fan seized the opportunity and said, "Venerable Jing, I still stand by what I said. It's better to resolve our grievances than to deepen them. If you're still upset, I'll return the thunder power to you. How about it?" Is this really about the thunder power? It's about being deceived twice by this scoundrel. Venerable Jing said coldly, "No deal." Jiang Fan gritted his teeth and said, "Then how about I compensate you with another magical treasure gifted by the silver apricot tree?" Venerable Jing was moved. Had that dead tree given all its merit to Jiang Fan? "What is it?" she asked sternly. Jiang Fan took out a piece of ice which encased a heart-shaped copper lock. Venerable Jing was greatly disappointed, but she wouldn't refuse what was given. After all, it was a top-grade spiritual artifact, and if used by venerate Wudong, it must be extraordinary. Best to get it first and evaluate later. Her gaze shifted, and she said, "Fine, give it to me and our grievances will be resolved." Fan skeptically said, "Swear to the heavens, once you get everything, the enmity between us is erased." Venerable Jing snorted, "I, a cultivator undergoing the heavenly person 4 declines, need to deceive you. Less nonsense. Give me the stuff and you can leave." Jiang Fan wiped the mysterious demon liquid off his face, saying, "The first time you saw me, you deceived me by saying you accidentally entered the Forbidden Land. They say only beautiful women lie, turns out old women do too." "What? Old woman?" Venerable Jing's eyebrows shot up, her anger skyrocketing. When useful, he's calling her Lady Venerable. Once he got what he wanted, he's calling her an old woman. Fine, fine. If she lets this wretched thing get away today, she'll walk backward from now on. Suppressing her rage on the brink of explosion, she said, "Are you going to give it or not?" Jiang Fan said, "I will, but you have to step back a bit, give me a chance to escape. Otherwise, you might turn your back on your word once you have what you want, and I won't have time to run." Venerable Jing's eyes moved slightly. "How far back?" Jiang Fan pointed to the sky. "The horizon will do." Venerable Jing laughed coldly in her heart. "Wretched thing, do you think it's between nascent souls? The distance within sight may count as a distance to those in the nascent soul realm, but to a venerate, it's just a blink. You've miscalculated." She suppressed her glee and feigned discontent, "trying to trick me so far away. You won't run away, will you? Jiang Fan said, "Can't help it, you're a venerate, I'm just a minor in the nascent soul realm. If you don't stand a bit further, I won't feel safe." Venerable Jing pretended to hesitate, then gritted her teeth after a while. "Fine. If you dare to play tricks, watch how I'll deal with you." Immediately, she flew towards the horizon unhurriedly. Jiang Fan stood on the spot, allowed himself a small smile only after confirming she reached the end of the horizon. He quietly took out the bronze grasshopper and the life-saving lotus. "Old woman, did you really think I've never dealt with a venerate? This distance is nothing to you. But I am no pushover." Without another word, he activated the bronze grasshopper. The latter swelled in the wind, leaping away with Jiang Fan, teleporting him 500 miles away. In the next moment, sensing something amiss, venerable Jing teleported back from the horizon, her face dark with anger, her fists cracking. She screamed, "Jiang Fan!" She was tricked again. She could bet that Jiang Fan definitely knew the horizon's distance wasn't a problem for her. But Jiang Fan acted the fool to lower her guard. Gained the chance to activate a magical treasure for teleportation. "I'll tear you apart." Venerable Jing was really infuriated. Got duped once, then again, each time different. Was it easy being a venerable in the heavenly person for declines? Harboring immense wrath, she closed her eyes to sense, immediately locking onto Jiang Fan's location. But she didn't teleport to chase him. Instead, the divine ring at the back of her head flickered uncertainly. A massive mirror floated upside down in the sky. She leapt into the mirror in a magical manner, 500 miles away. Jiang Fan felt dizzy and lightheaded. Even though it wasn't his first time using the bronze grasshopper, the teleportation impact was still overwhelmingly uncomfortable. Opening his eyes to survey around, he found he had teleported to an oasis. The extreme east of the great wilderness state, desolate and barren, not even grass in sight. Oddly, amidst the desolation, an oasis brimming with life appeared. A circular lake, like a giant pearl embedded in the surroundings. Green vegetation grew all around the lake. Jiang Fan took a fresh breath of air, feeling much more refreshed in spirit. Glancing back in the direction he came from, a slight smile played on his lips. "Old woman, we'll never see each other again." 500 miles, even a venerate would need a few breaths to arrive. Enough time for him to activate the life-saving lotus and make a complete getaway. He unhesitatingly initiated the lotus in his palm. The petals of the pink lotus spread out gently. Strands of space power were released from within, but just as it was about to succeed, an invisible pressure descended. The activated lotus was forcibly interrupted, the petals reclosing, sealing the space power. At the same time, a voice like a volcano on the brink of eruption came from above. Jiang Fan's entire body stiffened. Looking up, at some unknown time, a mirror had appeared in the sky. In the mirror, a figure in a black dress gradually floated down. Who could it be but venerable Jing? Jiang Fan's eyes widened. "Your domain can be played like this." Venerable Jing's face darkened, her eyes twin volcanoes. "There's a lot more games to play. I will play with you slowly." The last three words were spoken through gritted teeth. Jiang Fan suddenly felt a chill all over. He awkwardly smiled, taking out the ice block and the heart-shaped copper lock inside. "Lady Venerable, I was playing hide and seek with you. Since you found me, the item is yours." He tossed the ice block over. Venerable Jing lifted a palm, catching the ice block, a cursory glance confirming the contents. Seeing a lock, and it looked familiar as if seen somewhere before. But now was not the time to check the magical treasure. Deal with this wretched thing first. She stuffed the ice block into her space storage device, her eyes narrowing, a dangerous glint sparking within. Seeing this, Jiang Fan felt secure in his heart. Good, the luck transfer lock successfully got onto Venerable Jing. Next, any damage Venerable Jing does to Jiang Fan will transfer onto herself. Hope Venerable Jing delivers a big hit. Then she'll have to kill herself. Thinking so, Jiang Fan no longer showed restraint. Provoking her, he said, "Old woman, you've got the stuff, why still glare at me?" Still trying to cheat. Hearing Jiang Fan calling her an old woman again, undeterred by danger. Venerable Jing's eyes filled with an even greater dangerous arc, she coldly said, "Jiang Fan, you asked for this." Whoosh. Her figure vanished, leaving behind just a residual shadow. Jiang Fan's heart pounded wildly. It's coming. Whether he escaped or not depended on how ruthlessly Venerable Jing attacked. In that breath, Jiang Fan felt his whole body freeze. This was Venerable Jing's terrifying aura enveloping him, stripping him of resistance. Just like being under Evil Crow Venerable's shroud back then. This suffocating sense made him stop breathing. Time seemed to freeze in that moment. Jiang Fan widened his eyes, anticipating the luck transfer lock's effect. Suddenly, a silhouette of venerable Lianjing appeared from thin air in front of Jiang Fan. She lifted a palm, extending her arm, apparently intending to pierce Jiang Fan's chest herself. But what puzzled Jiang Fan? Venerable Lianjing, maintaining the pose, did not proceed. Her eyes flickered fiercely, seemingly in a struggle. It seemed something immensely powerful was battling for control over her body. Jiang Fan was stunned. What was going on? He hadn't done anything before he could figure it out. Venerable Lianjing suddenly moved, her hand rising towards Jiang Fan, but not to kill him. Rather, she gently stroked his face. Jiang Fan was completely petrified. Love, what's happening? He was a bit startled and quickly stepped back, saying cautiously, Venerable Lianjing, is that you? Why does Venerable Lianjing seem as if under some enchantment right now? After touching Jiang Fan's face, Venerable Lianjing instantly snapped back to reality. She took a few hurried breaths, her gaze at Jiang Fan filled with gravity. Wise man's law? You really have the wise man's law on you. She thought Jiang Fan was playing another trick on her. But it was real this time. Jiang Fan was momentarily stunned. Venerable Lianjing was actually resisting the sage's engraving. He was overjoyed in his heart. The Heavenly Eye Sage really did leave him a life-saving inscription. However, why is the inscription so odd? It actually forcibly commanded Venerable Lianjing to touch his face. What kind of inscription is this? Anyway, at least it's confirmed to be a life-saving law. He relaxed, no longer feeling tense. Coupled with the luck transfer lock, he had double protections in front of Venerable Lianjing. Absolutely safe and sound, he let out a long breath, unable to suppress a laugh. Venerable Lianjing, it seems you can't do anything to me. I have a small suggestion. Why don't you return to where you came from? Venerable Lianjing was so angry she could explode. Was the Heavenly Eye Sage blind? How could he leave a life-saving inscription for such a scoundrel? The more she thought about it, the angrier she got and couldn't help but curse. Little rogue, today Just as she cursed, suddenly, the sage's engraving activated again. The invisible law enveloped Venerable Lianjing, causing her to struggle again. The harsh words were pulled back and her tone became extremely gentle. Young Master Jiang, I truly fancy you. With that, the law faded away. Jiang Fan was stunned on the spot. What kind of outrageous thing did he just hear? He quickly stepped back, kept his distance from Venerable Lianjing, and said warily, Venerable Lianjing, don't do anything rash. Venerable Lianjing regained control of her words and, shocked, hurriedly retreated to stay away from Jiang Fan. Feeling both ashamed and angry, that wasn't me. It was the sage's engraving on you controlling what I said. What kind of engraving is that? How could it be like this? First touching Jiang Fan's face, then saying such shameless and uninhibited words. Jiang Fan was also a bit baffled. What exactly did the Heavenly Eye Sage engrave on him? How did it make Venerable Lianjing become like this? He tentatively suggested, Venerable Lianjing, maybe try hitting me in a different way, just to confirm what the engraving truly is. Venerable Lianjing was scared. How could she dare to hit Jiang Fan? Before even touching Jiang Fan, she'd be controlled by the sage's engraving. Yet she also wanted to find out what kind of bizarre engraving Jiang Fan had on him. With a change of thought, her domain activated, and a mirror appeared in front of her, reflecting Jiang Fan. There was no reflection of Jiang Fan in the mirror. Instead, it showed a line of words emitting a faint golden light filled with law. Hitting is affection, scolding is love. Seeing this line, Venerable Lianjing understood why her actions were so strange. This engraving was specifically targeting women. Anyone who hits Jiang Fan would become close to him. Anyone who scolds him would love him. Venerable Lianjing's face turned red with anger and shame. How shameless! To think a venerable would carve such brazen words for you. Jiang Fan was dumbfounded on the spot, his mind a bit muddled. He had imagined countless possibilities for what the Heavenly Eye Sage might have engraved, but never guessed it would be this saying. Thinking back carefully, he remembered asking the Heavenly Eye Sage what words were engraved. The Heavenly Eye Sage merely smiled mysteriously, saying he would like it. Presumably, at the time, he was carrying Yue Mingzhu in one hand and holding the injured and unconscious Xia Caoj with the other. The Heavenly Eye Sage probably left this phrase inside him for future domestic harmony. However, the Heavenly Eye Sage didn't anticipate that. The first activation of the engraving wasn't with one of his women, but rather with a female enemy who was chasing him. As for whether he liked it or not, Heartfelt self-reflection, he indeed somewhat liked it. Of course, he would prefer if the female enemy wasn't so old. Jiang Fan said awkwardly. This was engraved by the sage himself. It has nothing to do with me. Venerable Jing gritted her teeth in anger. No excuses. Would the sage engrave such shameless law without your plead? You despicable, lewd, shameless, cheating scum. Just as she said it, she felt something was wrong. But it was too late. The sage's engraving activated once more. Venerable Jing hurriedly said, "Don't." She tried to cover her mouth, but could not stop herself from saying words that filled her with shame and anger. "I am so fond of young Master Jiang." After saying this, Venerable Jing covered her face and screamed frantically, "Jiang Fan, go to hell." If she were a young girl, it would be one thing. But she was already of a certain age and still being controlled by the sage's engraving to say such shameless words. Jiang Fan also felt incredibly embarrassed. He quickly scanned his surroundings, saying, "Stop shouting. Afraid others won't hear your frivolous words. You may not care, but I still do." Venerable Jing hurriedly closed her mouth and nervously looked around. If word got out that she, Venerable Jing, made such inappropriate advances to a junior, she wouldn't be able to explain. After all, who would believe there's a sage's engraving like hitting is affection, scolding is love? Luckily, it was barren here. No one would come. Gurgle suddenly. A few bubbles emerged from the lake in the oasis below. Both Jiang Fan and Venerable Jing's expressions froze. There was life in the lake. Venerable Jing quickly shouted, "Who's eavesdropping? Come out!" Splashes of water rolled and churned. A valiant middle-aged man emerged, surrounded by auras of ice and fire with a divine ring behind his head. He emerged with embarrassment on his face. In his hand, he held a barely alive black-robed venerate, stained with much mysterious demon liquid. Who else could they be, if not the ice and fire demon lord and the soul-refining venerable? The ice and fire demon lord had been chasing the soul-refining venerable from the Taikang state all the way to the great wilderness state. Later, they had intruded into the forbidden land. But what was he doing here? The ice and fire demon lord was also a bit embarrassed and coughed dryly. "Jiang Fan, what a coincidence. For the record, I didn't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation. I was here to use the state-level teleportation array, didn't expect you'd arrive as well." State-level teleportation array. Jiang Fan looked bewilderedly at the circular lake. With a flick of the ice and fire demon lord's finger, a powerful cold burst turned the lake into ice, which then shattered into sparkling fragments. The lake bed was thus revealed. And right there was a gigantic transmission array with complex engravings. This transmission array leads directly to the West Sea of Taikang State. Jiang Fan suddenly understood. How could there be a lake on this barren land? Turns out it connected to the seabed of the West Sea. Presumably, when someone used the transmission array from the West Sea, some seawater crossed the boundary and was teleported here, eventually forming this transmission array. The ice and fire demon lord was planning to return to Taikang State, and Jiang Fan and Venerable Jing happened to arrive, and overheard their conversation. If someone else heard it, Jiang Fan wouldn't be too concerned. But the ice and fire demon lord was heading back to the heavenly mechanism pavilion if he went back spreading rumors. Jiang Fan awkwardly said, "Demon Lord Senior, please don't misunderstand, actually it's..." The ice and fire demon lord waved his hand. "No need to explain, I heard it all, I understand." Jiang Fan breathed a sigh of relief. After all, he was once a great cultivator, didn't need to see it to understand the truth just by hearing it. Yet what froze Jiang Fan's expression was, the ice and fire demon lord said with some envy, "I know you're popular with so many peerless beauties falling for you. But to think even women in their 40s and 50s you can win over. Really quite absurd." Jiang Fan nearly spat out a mouthful of old blood. "So this is what you understood." Venerable Jing was both ashamed and angry, shouting, "Shut your filthy mouth. It's because of the sage's engraving. How could it be my own intention? Those associated with this kid are indeed no good." The ice and fire demon monarch couldn't help but scrutinize Venerable Jing, noting the 4 flame marks on the divine ring at the back of her head. He remarked in surprise, "Still a female venerable in the heavenly person 4 declines. There's a strong aura of the thunder skill on her. She must be from the young Emperor Mountain." As a former heavenly person 5 decays supreme, he felt no reverence facing Venerable Jing. Venerable Jing realized that the demon monarch before her wasn't simple. Sensing the ice and fire aura surrounding him, she couldn't help but twitch her forehead. "You are the ice and fire demon monarch. You're actually still alive. How could she not know of this ancient relic from the heavenly state who survived to the present? But didn't rumors say decades ago that the ice and fire demon monarch had perished? Not only is he not dead, but the divine ring behind him shows signs of renewed vitality. She expressed joy, saying, "Predecessor ice and fire, come back to the heavenly state with me. The ancient giants are about to arrive. It's precisely the time we need you." The ice and fire demon monarch gave a nod toward Jiang Fan. "I owe this young man a huge favor. I promise to guard his sect. There are so many venerables in the heavenly state, one more useless person like me won't make a difference. If you really consider me a predecessor of the heavenly state, then give me face and let this young man go." It turns out, the ice and fire demon monarch really understood the whole situation. Furthermore, he understood that venerable Lianjing's affection was due to the sage's engraving. He was merely teasing Jiang Fan earlier. Venerable Lianjing glared at Jiang Fan, immediately raising her eyebrows and firmly stating, "No way. This kid is too much of a bully. I've already sworn that if I let him go today, I'll walk backward forever." The ice and fire demon monarch shrugged helplessly at Jiang Fan. "My face isn't useful now. Kid, I can't help you." Jiang Fan glanced at Venerable Lianjing and said, "I have the law protecting me. You can't hit or scold me, so what can you possibly do?" Venerable Lianjing scoffed. "I won't hit or scold you. Trapping you here until you die of old age is easy." Jiang Fan's expression changed. This method indeed circumvents the sage's engraving. However, his ways to deal with Venerable Lianjing were not limited to the sage's engraving. There's also the luck transfer lock. He turned to the ice and fire demon monarch and said, "Predecessor demon monarch, if this old woman stands still and lets you hit her with your full might, what would happen?" How could Venerable Lianjing possibly stand still? However, he still smiled and said, "That's an interesting question. Even though she is in the heavenly person 4 declines if she really stood still as you said, I could also heavily injure her." Jiang Fan was well aware. As long as he could heavily injure her, all was good. He took a deep breath and said, "Then predecessor demon monarch, hit me with all your might. Hurry up. Can't let Venerable Lianjing react." The ice and fire demon monarch was slightly stunned, somewhat bewildered. Jiang Fan wanted him to attack. His full-strength attack would surely leave nothing of Jiang Fan. He should understand this, but why would he make such a risky request? "Hurry up," Jiang Fan urged, because he noticed Venerable Lianjing was already frowning in thought. Soon she would realize the ice block. The ice and fire demon monarch's eyes lit up. Jiang Fan, being so smart, wouldn't act recklessly. There must be a reason for such a request. Hearing the urge, the ice and fire demon monarch hesitated no more. He decisively summoned his domain and struck Jiang Fan fiercely, shouting, "Watch out." The ice and fire demon monarch's domain was far stronger than ordinary venerables. This was what gave him the confidence to claim he could heavily injure a cultivator in the heavenly person 4 declines. The terrifying domain engulfed his body, and Jiang Fan instantly felt every drop of blood within him trembling. The aura of death seeped into every corner of his being. It seemed as if he had fallen into a frozen river, his entire body shivering with cold. Yet before he could feel any pain, the next moment, all sensations vanished instantly. Suddenly, Venerable Lianjing on the side let out a pained grunt. The injuries that should have appeared on Jiang Fan were now on Venerable Lianjing. Half of her skin was burnt, the other half frostbitten. Internally, the ice and fire domain was destroying her 5 organs. The sudden severe pain caught Venerable Lianjing off guard, causing her to cry out continually, "Jiang Fan, what have you done to me?" Suddenly, she recalled something and grabbed the ice block. Gazing intently at the heart-shaped copper lock within, she finally understood what it was. This is a spiritual artifact from a venerable of the young Emperor Mountain called Luck Transfer Lock. No wonder it looked familiar. It's this deceitful thing. Jiang Fan wasn't compensating her earlier. He was clearly tricking her once again. Realizing she was deceived yet again, Venerable Lianjing flew into a rage. "Damn it. Jiang Fan, I'll kill you." She didn't even dare to curse, much less attack him. Raising her hand, she prepared to deploy her domain and trap him. But the internal sharp pain made it difficult to concentrate her domain. Jiang Fan dared not delay, decisively jumping onto the state-level teleportation array, shouting, "Let's go." The ice and fire demon monarch looked at the heavily injured Venerable Lianjing in surprise. It can be played like this. She's lucky to be in the heavenly person 4 declines. If she were in the heavenly human 2 declines, wouldn't it mean being tricked to death by Jiang Fan? He couldn't help but reassess Jiang Fan. From Shu Bu Su to the soul-refined venerable, then to venerable Jing. This guy, it's like he's been tricking people all the way through, and each time the trick is more severe than the last. Hearing Jiang Fan's urging, he picked up the weakened soul-refined venerable and rushed onto the teleportation array, keeping a bit of distance from him. Jiang Fan said helplessly, "Predecessor Demon Monarch, what are you waiting for? Load the top-grade crystal stone." "As a junior, I don't have top-grade crystal stones." The ice and fire demon monarch's mouth twitched. "This bastard won't even spare his own people," he grumbled. "I came to the great wilderness state to help you chase the soul-refined venerable. And now you want me to cover the travel expenses. Am I paying to work here?" Jiang Fan chuckled. "Predecessor demon monarch, how can you say that? It took you 10 days to chase down an injured venerable from Taikang State to the great wilderness state. If it were me, I'd be too embarrassed to complain." He was genuinely puzzled that it took the ice and fire demon monarch so long to pursue the soul-refined venerable, thinking the battle would end easily in Taikang State, not expecting it to drag on to the great wilderness state. The ice and fire demon monarch kicked the feeble soul-refined venerable and said, "How could a person with 2 sets of sages engraving on them be easy to kill? If it weren't for my experience, I'd almost have been countered by him." Jiang Fan was startled. Only then did he realize that the soul-refined venerable was no ordinary person, especially with the Asura saint son behind him. He surely possessed other powerful means, making his pursuit challenging. Moreover, the ice and fire demon monarch wasn't aiming to kill him, but to capture him alive. Seeing the soul-refined venerable barely clinging to life, it was clear the ice and fire demon monarch wanted to extract the mastermind behind him. This line of thinking indeed made matters harder. He'd misjudged the ice and fire demon monarch. Gazing at the still-breathing soul-refined venerable, Jiang Fan's face lit up with joy. Bring him back to the heavenly mechanism pavilion and interrogate him thoroughly, to surely expose the Asura saint son lurking in the central state for who he really is.